Drill by now. We got to let the stream breathe for just a second here and make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Welcome in, Broncos country, to this Denver Broncos Syndicate live stream of the 2025 NFL Draft Night 1, Round 1 edition. This is our third annual draft stream, and this is the most exciting time for Broncos country since we started doing these streams because we finally have our franchise quarterback in Bo Nix. Let's just reflect on where we were 1 year ago when we were doing this stream. The Denver Broncos had not yet selected Bo Nix. We weren't sure what they were going to eventually do at the quarterback position. We had an idea, but ultimately we didn't know. And it was a scary time here in Broncos country, that is for sure. But now we've got our guy, and this draft is going to be all about adding pieces around our franchise quarterback. Be it a weapon or be it through the trenches, be it an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, or even somebody else on defense. No matter how you slice it, Broncos country, you are helping out Bo Nix, which is absolutely huge and absolutely critical overall for the success of this team. I am just making sure that everything is nice and stable on the stream. All right, it looks like we are rocking and rolling and in business, Broncos country. Yes, we are. We got people in the chat. Let's go. We got D-Rock in the house saying Mile High Country. Good to see you, D-Rock. We got MThang5100 in the house saying Broncos country, let's go. We got Julian Bashir, let's go, Gage. David Yunkin in the house, about time, let's go. Kenneth Miller in the house, good to see you. Kenneth saying, let's go, Gage, you're the best. Maverick in the house, good to see you, my friend. Hope you are doing well. Julian says, looks and sounds good. Awesome, awesome. So, in case you guys haven't tuned into one of our draft streams before, we do spoil the pick here once we find it out on Twitter. We're not going to wait for the TV to announce it, and this year, just because I don't have cable and my internet's probably only going to be stable enough for the stream, I'm not even rocking with the TV this year. We're just going to find out as Twitter finds out, and that's how we're going to do it. I've got a little draft tracker down here, though, so you guys can at least keep up with what the previous picks were, and if necessary, I can also type something up, kind of like I had to do last year when the tracker eventually went to crap. So, yeah, guys, we're going to be rocking and rolling in this stream. I'm looking forward to it. It's a 3-day marathon. The third day of this stream is going to be 8 hours, plus we got undrafted free agent videos. We've got press conferences after all 3 nights, so after tonight, we will hear from Sean and George Payton, and of course, we're going to stream that here. D-Rock in the house says, Gage, just remember, don't blow a head gasket on a tight end. I won't. I promise I won't. I trust the direction of this organization, but I'm hoping we can at least get a tight end at some point in this draft. Kenneth says, sounds great, let's go. Math says, very exciting, got my nachos and beer, awesome sauce. I'm just going to have you on this year, Gage. Last year I was doing both and it was too much, Bobby says. I don't care who we pick as long as they are playmakers. Don't forget to hit the like button, Bobby says. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and that's what it's all about, is getting playmakers. And even if they don't get a playmaker on offense in the first round, you're still going to get a playmaker on defense. Let's say they go with a big double gap clogging defensive tackle in Kenneth Grant. He's still going to be a playmaker. And like Sean Payton said, the best friend of a young quarterback is a good defense and a good run game. And with how loaded this running back class is, even if they don't come away with a running back tonight, they're still going to come away with a really good running back at some point. What I'm trying to figure out how to do is get a pop-out chat here. I think we'll come over here and do it this way because I want to be able to get my Twitter up and keep an eye on what is going on here. Gonna tune back in tomorrow. Gonna soak in the first round draft miss fully, Maverick says. Alrighty, my friend. Sounds good. Hope to see you back in here tomorrow. Julian says, I like Gage's idea of trading back with Cleveland. Yeah, that would be certainly an ideal scenario in my opinion. And Cleveland, it's looking like, is going to try to trade out of 2. They made a trade with the Houston Texans today to try to pick up some mid-round draft capital, so it kind of seems like they're going to trade out of 2. All right, let's go ahead and get this all rigged up. Awesome. Got Twitter on one side, got the chat on the other side. Apparently, according to Adam Schefter, we're going to see some early fireworks in the top 10 of the draft. So I am really excited to see how that is all going to play out. It seems that Jacksonville is trying to trade up with Cleveland for Travis Hunter. Cleveland would then have some extra draft capital if they wanted to come back up in the first round to maybe get Shedeur Sanders later on, or Jackson Dart if that's their quarterback. 30%. I'd say there is a 30% chance that the Denver Broncos do not pick in the first round. All right, are we all good, guys? I know my internet just glitched out for a second here. I'm having to feed it through my phone because my laptop... Bobby says it just frozen on my end. Are we back? Let's see. Are we back, Broncos country? Or are we still dead? Are we back or are we dead? Let's see. Are we back? Okay, Bobby says we're back. Cool. Yeah, my internet just glitched out for a second. We are not in the old apartment anymore where the internet was so effing awful that it was almost unusable. The internet's good here, except I have to feed it through my phone because my old laptop, the Wi-Fi card in it is dead. So we might have occasional like 3 or 4 second glitch outs like we did just there for maybe like every hour or so. It won't happen very often, Broncos country. I can assure you that. The internet issues of last year's game streams where it was so effing annoying, I was having to get data for my phone, that is over. We're in a new place. I know most of you guys have seen the new studio setup in most of the videos that I've put out, but we got the sign back here. We've got this shelf. We are in a closet, but I think that it works out best for the audio. I tried recording out here in the room, and it just was too echoey, so I think coming in here was a very good move. All right, we are back. Good. We got Jason Yale in the house. Good to see you. Keanu says, what teams you think would be most likely to make a shocking pick? I don't know, man. If Jacksonville can pull off a trade up to number 2 to get Travis Hunter, that might be super surprising. Jason says, Genty, Egbuka, Golden, and Henderson. Those are my desires. Hampton is just okay in my opinion. Listen, man, I'm not the hugest fan of Hampton in the first round. I don't think that Omarion Hampton is a guy that is going to fit in this scheme as good as some of the other running backs in this class. I think that Travion Henderson is definitely a better fit in terms of just trying to get a Joker type player. So that's who I ultimately mocked to the Denver Broncos. I did have Denver trading down to 33 with Cleveland and then coming back up with the Detroit Lions. The reason being, Washington seems to be interested in Travion Henderson at number 29. So we'd have to get ahead of Washington if we wanted to get him, and I think that Denver trading up with Cleveland would be the most realistic scenario. D-Rock says, let's go, get defensive tackle Derek Harmon. The thing about Derek Harmon is he's got some medical issues. I don't know exactly what they are, but apparently it could drop him out of the first round according to some reports and some mock drafts. If you could get Derek Harmon at the top of the second round, especially if you had traded down with the Cleveland Browns, that would be certainly ideal. Derek Harmon at the top of the second round would be extraordinarily good value. Alrighty, guys, we are about 5 minutes from the Tennessee Titans being officially put on the clock. I know that they'll probably do like the national anthem, and then Roger will get up and he'll do his usual speech and spiel and all that crap. So they probably won't officially get started here for a few minutes. We'll probably get them officially put on the clock at about 6:10, maybe 6:15, I would guess. Denver Broncos, if they do indeed pick at 20, they'll probably be picking around, maybe somewhere around like 7:30, 8 o'clock if I had to guess, just based on timing of previous drafts. So, yeah, guys, it is absolutely crazy right now. Robert says, evening, Gage, hope you are well. Internet seems good. Awesome. Good to see you, Robert. Hope you are well as well. Julian says, pray the Jags take Genty so the Raiders don't get him. For sure. Obviously, we do not want the Raiders to get Ashton Genty, and Jacksonville, I think, would be an awesome place for him. And remember, their new head coach, Liam Cohen, came from Tampa Bay, where he was the offensive coordinator, and they just had incredible success with Bucky Irving. Now, Bucky Irving was a 4th-round pick. That would probably lend itself to, well, why don't you just get it back later? But maybe they feel like Ashton Genty can be their all-around, do-everything back, and Reports have indicated that Travis Etienne might be on his way out in Jacksonville anyway, so the pick in Jacksonville would make a ton of sense. The Raiders will probably end up with a really good player regardless. Right now, the betting favorite for the Raiders is Armand Mimbo, the tackle out of Missouri, who, in my opinion, is the top tackle in this class. So either way, the Raiders are going to end up with a good player, but it would definitely be better if they don't end up with Ashton Jeanty, in my opinion. Pro 16K says Hampton if we don't get Jeanty. I don't know if the Broncos are going to have an opportunity to get Hampton. I think Hampton is going to go a little bit earlier than some people might think. I think he could very easily go at number 10 to the Chicago Bears. I had that in my mock draft. So if Hampton's gone before the Denver Broncos have a chance to get him, then I would not be surprised at all if the Denver Broncos had planned for that. Even if the Raiders get Jeanty, it is what it is. Yeah, but at this point, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen, thankfully. Devin says, let's load the trenches. Holy Diver says, happy D-Day, boys. Yeah, let's go, man. Teams that would most likely make a reach pick, like Atlanta's Penix and Raiders' Cleveland Farrell. I mean, I don't know if we can say that Penix was a reach now, because this is a very poor quarterback class, and the Kirk Cousins signing ended up blowing up in their face. So it would have been a lot less weird if they never signed Kirk Cousins to begin with, in my opinion. But I think Atlanta was ultimately proven right with that pick, and time will tell a lot more with that moving forward. Yes, Jeanty to anyone other than our rivals, for sure. We got Brad in the house saying, it's Christmas morning. If Denver can trade back and have 4 more picks, sign me up. Hampton and Henderson will go early. I think so too. I absolutely think so too. They're going to go a lot earlier than people are expecting. So if Denver can trade down, get some extra draft capital, then that might be the best bet for them. And then they can get a defensive lineman or get a running back in the second round. Caleb Johnson or maybe Quinshon Judkins. I would prefer Johnson personally. It's not that I don't like Judkins. I think Johnson would just be a better bell cow back for this Denver Broncos team. What are some of your mid to late round sleepers? Oh, I have so many, but just to name a few, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, the running back out of Arizona, was one of my early draft crushes that I got to scout in person at the Shrine Bowl. He is a tough, physical, nasty downhill runner. He'll probably go on day 3. He's a guy who didn't get a lot of playing time last year because of eligibility issues, but he's a really good football player that is going to be a day 3 steal for NFL teams. Kobe Bryant, the cornerback out of Kansas, he's an awesome man coverage corner. I think if you could get him in the 4th round, that would be an absolute steal. We've got Jackson Hawes, tight end out of Georgia State. I absolutely love him. He's the best pure blocking tight end in this class. Aeneas Peebles, a defensive tackle. I think that Aeneas Peebles could be a guy that could really help be a developmental piece long-term on your defensive line. You could develop him behind Zach Allen and John Franklin Myers, and that would be really cool. I know that he didn't test very well at the Combine, but I don't really pay attention to a lot of those athletic testings. I look at tape, and I think Aeneas Peebles had really good tape. So those are just a few. I have many others, though, and we'll see all that transpire as the draft moves forward. I think that some of my guys that I really like that I thought originally were going to be middle round picks might end up going in the 1st round, but we'll see how the draft board ultimately goes. Another scenario, the Denver Broncos could be in play to trade up for a tight end. I do think that Tyler Warren is going to be gone well before the Denver Broncos make their pick. I think that he's going to be gone at number 7 to the New York Jets. But if not, then we could see the Denver Broncos possibly go tight end early in the draft. Maybe they could trade up, try to jump the Indianapolis Colts with the Miami Dolphins at 13, and they could get Colston Loveland. That's another scenario I've heard. I'm not endorsive of trading up. I don't want to give up draft capital. If anything, I want to move back and acquire more draft capital, but I trust Sean Payton and I trust George Payton to make the right decision for this team. And if they feel like they have to move up to get their guy, then I will be endorsive of that because I'm a firm believer in what those two are building in this football program. BK says, trade up or defensive tackle, please. I'd rather the defensive tackle. That would be my ideal plan. How are you watching the draft? I'm watching it on Twitter. I'm just kind of scrolling through Twitter, and once the pick comes in, and the picks on Twitter usually come in before the actual picks come in on TV, so we will definitely be announcing them as soon as we have them here. So I will give you an opportunity to get out of here if you don't want to hear the Broncos pick spoiled when they ultimately do make it. I'll give you guys like a 20, 30-second warning so you guys can dip out of here if you guys want to see it announced on TV. But last year I was trying to pay attention to the TV and the chat and Twitter and all this crap, and it was just too much. So I eliminated the TV this time. Brad says Walter Nolan or Kenneth Grant. I don't know if Walter Nolan's going to be there. I think Nolan's going to go somewhere between 12 and 20. I don't think he's going to fall all the way down to 20. I think he'll probably go. Yeah, it's putting a lot of pressure on my phone right now. All right, let's see. Are we back? I just reset it. Am I gone? Am I still gone? Back? Cool. I just went ahead and reset it. I completely reset it, so hopefully we don't drop again. I just went ahead and turned it off and turned it back on, so hopefully we do not drop again. Sorry about that, guys. My next investment after the draft, hopefully I can rake up enough fundage throughout the draft. I'm going to be buying a new laptop. It's time. I've had this one for 4 years now, and it was a hand-me-down. So this one's been a good soldier for me for all my content creation. I've got another computer that I game on, but that one's just not rigged for content creation. So this one's been a good soldier, but I think it's time to go ahead and retire it and move on to something a little bit more modern. This one's still running Windows 10, and pretty soon Windows 10's not even going to be supported anymore. Rodney says, I want Harmon. If Harmon falls out of the first round, then I highly anticipate the Denver Broncos to pounce on. Ooh, Diana Rossini just made a report. The Denver Broncos are making an aggressive push to get into the top 10. Okay. We got Quentin Caldwell in the house. Good to see you, Quentin. Hope you are doing well. So, if the Denver Broncos are making an aggressive push to get into the top 10, maybe they feel like they have a chance to get Ashton Genty, or they are making a desperate attempt to try to get Omarion Hampton. Those are my best guesses as to what could be going on right now if this report from Diana Rossini is indeed correct. I don't want to give up future draft capital. I really am not a big fan of this if this is indeed true. I want us to stay at 20 or trade back. That's what I'm hoping for too. But if these latest reports, which more and more of these reports are indicating that Denver could trade up, man, I don't know. I don't want to do it personally, but if Denver really loves their guy, then I trust George and Sean at the end of the day. All right, it is 6:05 p.m. And if there's anybody watching on TV, let me know if Roger's gotten up there or anything like that. Let me know if things are going down. Okay, the Tennessee Titans are officially on the clock. So we should see some action any second now. This pick is very clearly going to be Cam Ward, quarterback out of the University of Miami. We'll see how long Tennessee stalls this one out. I think that they're going to take this the full 10 minutes. All right, cool. So if Rodgers already put Tennessee on the clock, then we are rocking and rolling, guys. And it looks like that is indeed the case. Let's get the draft ticker refreshed. Tennessee is officially on the clock. And we are going. So Cam Ward will be the pick here, and then after that, we're going to see what happens at number 2. Our fireworks incoming. Will Jacksonville be able to trade up with Cleveland? They're making a very aggressive push right now. Roger Goodell's on a bike? Well, that's a tradition in Green Bay. They ride these tiny little bikes, the players do. It's just kind of a weird draft day tradition in Green Bay, and it's a training camp tradition in Green Bay, so that's probably why he's doing it. All right, we'll see if the Denver Broncos can somehow get into the top 10. As far as teams that might be willing to trade out of the top 10, we'll see if Cleveland comes down to 5 with Jacksonville. Maybe they'll be willing to trade down again, and maybe they'd be willing to come down with Denver. I don't know if that would be the case or not, but we'll see. Otherwise, maybe Carolina at 8 or New Orleans at 9. I just don't know if any of those teams are going to be willing to trade down. They do love booing the commissioner. It is true. That is a tradition unlike any other in the draft. All right, it is 6:07 p.m. Mountain Time. Let's see how long it takes for Cam Ward to officially be announced. And then after that, things are going to get really spicy here with this second pick. If Cleveland stands pat, then I do ultimately believe they're going to go with Travis Hunter. But if they do trade down, then that tells me that they're going to make a very aggressive push to try to get Shedeur Sanders later on and still land some other draft capital to fill other needs that they may have on their roster. Has it always been that way, or just for Goodell? Just for Goodell, as far as I know. He's a very unpopular commissioner. Fans don't like him. Players don't like him. The only reason he's still there is because owners really like him, and he's made the league a lot of money. So, yeah, this has just kind of been a tradition ever since Goodell got there, and it really started like 2018, 2019 is the earliest that I can remember it, and he full-blown embraced it during the pandemic, and when they were doing the virtual draft, they'd have a boo the commissioner segment beforehand, and he's really kind of leaned into it over the last few years. But I imagine if they did make a change at commissioner, we wouldn't get as many boos at the draft. All right, so Tennessee just tweeted that they are officially on the clock. 6:09 p.m. They've got 10 minutes to officially turn in the card. And knowing these teams, man, they like to drag it out for as long as possible. Clay Matthews is out there. Oh, that's awesome. It's good to see him back in the Green Bay community and doing stuff for the Packers again. He's somebody that I will always associate with Green Bay. He was one of my favorite players that didn't play for the Broncos growing up. I really was a big fan of Clay Matthews. So, oh yeah, it's going to be Cam Ward. It's just how long is Tennessee going to take to turn the card in? Yep, the Goodell boos are a classic. Yeah, man, Clay Matthews was one of my favorites growing up, man, and it's just crazy to think how many players have retired since I started. I mean, the last quarterbacks that are in the league since I really started watching are Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers if he plays next year, Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson a little bit later on, but man, some of these players are really starting to hit their time in the NFL, man, and it makes me feel old. Yep, it is officially started, so once Cam Ward goes, then we will see what happens with the second overall pick. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on this draft stream. This is our third year doing this. One of my favorite times of the year. Draft season is a reward of all of the hard work that has been put in by scouts and media and even fans as well in this entire process from January when Shrine and Senior Bowl started to now when all these players are getting selected and the entire landscape of the league is changing. thank you guys so much for tuning in. Without you guys, none of this would be possible here on this channel. I wouldn't be doing this, and I just want to say thank you to each and every single one of you who have supported me over the years and continue to support me as bigger and better things come here on the channel. So now that we got all the emotional crap out of the way, let's go Titans and let's turn this thing in so we can officially start the draft, please. And in non-football news, the Denver Nuggets have a key playoff game tonight against the Los Angeles Clippers. They are currently tied 1-1 in the series. So we will see if Denver can even things or can put things back in the win column for them after a really tough loss in Game 2 to the Clippers. You're old. I've been a Broncos since Charlie Johnson. Fair enough. But I just feel old when, like, all of the players who were in the league when you started are gone. All right. Dov Kleiman says the pick is in. This is the only time of the year that I ever follow Dov Kleiman's account. And obviously, no surprise, it's Cam Ward. And according to Ari Mirov, yes, the Titans were told by the league to milk the clock. The reason being is they have to fill a full 4 hours worth of programming up until 10 o'clock. So they're telling these teams to not turn the card in early, but the card's already been turned in. It's Cam Ward. No surprise there whatsoever. Mike says, keep chasing your dreams. I appreciate that, man. I'm super duper excited about what's to come. All right. If Cleveland and Jacksonville do get this deal done, according to Benjamin Albright, and it's obvious and very apparent, it opens the door of a flurry of teams trying to move up, potentially for Ashton Genty, and Denver might be one of those teams based on some of these reports from Diana Rossini and Adam Schefter that Denver is potentially trying to move up. All right. Well, according to the internet, the pick is in, and it is Cam Ward, obviously. So we are now officially moving on to the number 2 overall pick. And apparently the talks are really starting to heat up between Cleveland and Jacksonville to get this deal done. They've now got 10 minutes to get it done. Let's see if they can get something to materialize. If they can't, then my gut tells me that Cleveland is going to stay pat and select Travis Hunter. But I know Jacksonville has wanted Travis Hunter since the beginning of the draft process, so they are going to try to get him. Cleveland's on the clock for now, but we'll see how long that lasts. If this talk is hammered down to the absolute last second, then that tells me that they're still a little bit far apart in terms of compensation. So this is going to be a really interesting next 10 minutes, guys. Any chance they pick Sanders? I'm assuming you're meaning Cleveland. Probably not here. I think that they're going to try to get back into the first round later on. Oh, they got it done. The trade has been done. The Browns are trading the number 2 pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We will see what the parameters of the trade are. This is per Ari Mirov. They got it done. Ian Rappaport is confirming it. It's a massive haul, guys. A massive haul. The Jacksonville Jaguars are coming up with the Cleveland Browns. So this is the first massive domino to fall. Here we go, guys. It is officially draft season. Let's go. All right. The terms of the trade. The Browns are trading the number 2 pick, a 4th round pick, which is number 104 overall, and a 6th round pick, 200 overall, to Jacksonville. Jacksonville is trading number 5, a 2nd round pick, 36, a 4th round pick, 126, and their 2026 first rounder to the Browns. So the Browns have a shit ton of draft capital, and they can come up with a team like Denver if they want to. Holy crap. BK, thank you so much for the $1.99, my dude. Thanks for doing a live draft. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate all of you guys. And thank you so much, BK, again. Really appreciate it. But holy crap, Jacksonville has to be coming up for Travis Hunter here. There's nobody else. It's got to be Travis Hunter. This wasn't really starting to materialize yesterday, but this now just cracked open the entire draft and completely threw off everybody's mock drafts. But if Cleveland wants to come back up with Denver at 20, they've got the draft capital to do it. And the draft starts off with a bang, Broncos country. So I'm assuming here that this is going to be Travis Hunter to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And with all this draft capital Cleveland's accumulated, they got a 5th round pick. They traded some 6th and 7ths to get another 5th. And now they've got this. Oh my God. Oh my God. They've got the 36th pick and a 1st round pick next year. Yo! Things are getting real. Things are getting real. Woo-hoo-hoo! That is a spicy one, folks. James Gladstone, Jacksonville's 34-year-old general manager, just pulls off the bombshell of the draft. Holy crap. Cleveland, man, they're wheeling and dealing. They are wheeling and dealing. Let's see what this ultimately materializes into for Cleveland, but this is probably going to be Travis Hunter here for the Browns, or for the Jags. Wow. Wow, 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 Broncos country. Yep, I don't know about this one for Jacksonville, just with the amount of capital they gave up, but if Travis Hunter turns into a generational player, then I don't think they're going to care. This is insane, dude. Jacksonville officially announces it on social media, so it is done. And Cleveland is just trying to get as much ammo as they can here, and I think they're going to try to make a move to get back into the 1st round. And if Denver can pick up some of this ammo, the extra 2nd round picks, maybe even the 1st next year, if they want to make a deal to come down from 20, dude, dude, I'm getting excited now. I am getting excited now. If he averages 1,000 yards per season, it's worth it for 9 years. I don't think he's going to play receiver full time. I think he's going to play corner. I think that he's going to play corner, and he will have a package to play receiver, but his full-time position, I think, is going to be corner in the NFL. I think teams view him as a corner. Okay, so the parameters of the trade one more time. The Cleveland Browns receive the 5th overall pick, the 36th overall pick, the 126th overall pick, and a 2026 1st round pick. Jacksonville gets the 2nd pick, the 104th pick, and the 200th pick. And Jacksonville's milking this here, but it's going to be Travis Hunter. So now we are sort of on the Ashton Genty watch here for the Denver Broncos, because Jacksonville was one of the top spots to land him. Now, I don't know. Will Cleveland take him? Cleveland could take him. I could see that. Could New England take him? I highly doubt that one. I think New England's going tackle. We'll see, man. I really do not want to give up draft capital to move forward. I will not be the happiest if they do it, but again, I trust Sean Payton, and I trust George Payton, and it is official, guys. Travis Hunter is a Jacksonville Jaguar. After a blockbuster trade to move up to the 2nd pick, the Jaguars are taking the wide receiver DB out of the University of Colorado. Again, I think he's going to play corner at the NFL level with a package at receiver, but regardless, you just got the best player in the draft, in my opinion. So good on you, Jacksonville. James Gladstone, young, hungry, and aggressive. He knew what he wanted, and he went up and got it. So the New York Giants are now on the clock. I imagine that they are going to go with Abdul Carter here, but with the way that things are just broken open, maybe they make a trade down at this point. This is absolutely crazy. This is full F them picks mode here from James Gladstone. Yep, that was only for 3 spots, too. It's going to cost a lot more than that to move from 20 to 5, if that is indeed what Denver would want to do. I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm just so freaking happy that Travis Hunter is not a Cleveland Brown. I am so happy he's not a Cleveland Brown. I despise that organization, dude. And I'm so happy that I can cheer for Travis Hunter now. And I would have cheered for him anyway, but now I don't have to root for success for the Browns when he makes a play. Okay, here we go, man. And according to Jordan Schultz, the trades are just starting. So we might see 3, 4, 5 trades before the night is over. I would not be surprised at all. Things are getting spicy, Broncos country. I do think the Pats will take Will Campbell. Ultimately, I do think that's the direction they're going to go, but if it were up to me, I would take Armand Membo. I think he's the better player. I agree that New England needs offensive line help, but you're getting a guy in Will Campbell that teams don't really know. Is he a guard? Is he a tackle? Like, what is he going to play at this level? New England needs a franchise left tackle, and even though Membo played right tackle in college, he can play left tackle. I don't know, man. So, do the Giants stay pat or do they go with Abdul Carter? Those are the 2 options right now, it seems, for New York. And then once we get to number 4, it's going to be Will Campbell. And then number 5 is where things are really going to get spicy again. So Travis Hunter, dude, again, I think he's going to play corner, but when you can get him in for certain packages at wide receiver, I think it's going to be like 3rd down or crucial red zone plays when you really need a big play. That's when I think you're going to see Travis Hunter on the field on offense, but outside of that, I think he's got potential to be a shutdown corner. He can take away some of the top receivers in the league because he plays receiver as well. He knows the ins and outs of that. He knows the route running savvy that some of these receivers have, and that gives him a leg up at the corner position. That's why I think teams covet him a little bit more there than they do at wide receiver. All right, Rap Sheet and Schefter have officially announced it as Travis Hunter. That came out a couple of minutes ago here from Draft Diamonds. If you guys want the picks as early as possible, I highly recommend you follow Draft Diamonds on Twitter. He's usually the first one to get them. The Raiders will take your boy from Mizzou. Yep, that's what I'm thinking. That is what I'm thinking. I don't know, though. If Genty falls into their lap, I think they might consider it. What I'm guessing is they weren't planning on Genty to be there, and he might be there now. But again, we got to see what Cleveland does. If they want to trade down again, someone could come up and get Genty at 5. Do I see Denver doing that? No, I don't. But you never know. Never say never. But get your popcorn ready because things are going to get spicy soon. And as Chris Thomason of the Denver Gazette points out, the Denver Broncos do host the Jacksonville Jaguars this year, so we will see Travis Hunter return to the state of Colorado as a rookie. That's going to be really fun. I didn't get the chance to see him play at CU, so I'll get a chance to see him play in person at that game. I'm really excited for that. All right, Giants, hurry up. If they don't trade down, then this is going to be Abdul Carter. What did they say when they announced the pick on TV? Did they say wide receiver or corner? What did they say? I guess they announced it as wide receiver and DB, and that's the plan for him to play both sides in Jacksonville, according to Cameron Wolfe. Again, I think it'll be more one side than the other, but I do anticipate him playing both sides like he wants to. Raiders won't make a good decision drafting. I have full confidence. I don't know, man. This is a completely different regime. I don't know what they're going to do. I think that John Spytek and Pete Carroll, with their previous pedigree and acumen, that might suggest that they're not going to screw this up, unlike previous Raiders regimes, but you never know. Travis Hunter versus Pat Surtain. Yeah, that could be fun. We might only see it on third down, but that would be a super fun matchup. So number 4, it'll probably be Will Campbell. And once we get to 5 with Cleveland, that's going to be kind of a mystery. Do they want to move down again? Do they just go with Ashton Genty and call it a day? I was thinking that they were going to take Travis Hunter and then try to come back up and reunite Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. But given the fact that they get this absolute haul worth of picks from the Jacksonville Jaguars, they would have been stupid to turn that down. Even though Travis Hunter is the best player in my opinion. All right, the pick is in for the Giants. It is Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter comes off the board to the New York Giants. So we are now at number 4 with the New England Patriots. Things could really start to get spicy here, folks, because they're going to take Will Campbell, but after that, we're going to see possibly another trade coming here for Cleveland. Just a little bit of housekeeping stuff, guys. If you could just do me a big favor and leave a like on this stream as well as subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. So help grow this community and get more viewers on these streams. I would really appreciate it. Helps me out a ton. Solid pick. Didn't expect him to go number 3. Once New York made the move to get Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, it really did seem like that was the direction they were going to go. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is not long for that roster. They probably are going to play him out there one more year, but he's been quite disappointing since he had that really good rookie season. I think that they're going to try to give him another chance, but if not, they've now got Abdul Carter waiting in the wings. They've still got Brian Burns there. So yeah, man, you can never have too many good pass rushers, as John Elway would always say. You can always use a pass rusher. What's your final guess on who we pick? I'm still going to say Travion Henderson. I think that's the player that Denver is going to end up with by the end of the night. How they get him, I don't know. Are they going to move up? Are they going to move down and then move back up again? I have no idea, but that is ultimately the player I think Denver is going to end up with, is Travion Henderson. I really hope the Raiders don't get Genty, but it's not looking good. They'd be stupid not to. I mean, I would agree with you, but they might also want to prioritize tackle here, and they would go with Armand Membo. We'll see, man. Will they make the responsible pick or the sexy pick that the fans want? I don't know. Oh, according to Diana Rossini, the Cleveland Browns are taking calls from teams interested in the 5th overall pick. They're open to moving down again. Who would want to come up? Maybe Denver. Oh, we got a Benjamin Albright tweet, so this could be something here for Denver. Okay, no, nothing important. I mean, I don't want to see Genty twice either. Do not get me wrong. We'll see if somebody wants to come up and get him at number 5. Thank you so much for the $1, Mad Space. Really appreciate it, dude. I don't know if it's 0 fumbles, Robert, but he doesn't fumble often, I can tell you that. George Payton loves Loveland. That is true. That is true. I do know that they like Loveland, but there are also some concerns about medicals. If someone could just let me know once we are back, I would definitely appreciate it. Back. Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate you, my dude. Yeah, again, sorry about that, guys. We just will have those occasional little drops. All right, so number 4, fully expect this to be Will Campbell. Should be Armand Membo, but hey, man, Mike Vrabel has forgotten more football than I will ever know in my lifetime. If he thinks that Will Campbell is the guy to build this offensive line around long term, then so be it. As long as they get protection for Drake May, that's the only thing that really matters at the end of the day for New England. I don't care how many weapons you have. If you can't protect your young franchise quarterback, then you're not going to win football games. And that quarterback isn't going to develop. That's one of the biggest reasons why Denver was able to develop Bo Nix last year, was because they had such a good offensive line. And he also made that offensive line look better than they were, because we saw what Russell Wilson did playing behind that same offensive line, taking self-induced sack after self-induced sack after self-induced sack. My wish board is Henderson, Loveland, up for Genty, Warren, Hampton, or wide receiver in the first. Well, I do think one of those is going to happen for Denver. Which one? Not sure. All right, Will Campbell has officially been selected by the New England Patriots, and things are about to get even more spicy here with Cleveland at number 5. Do they come down again? Do they pick a player? Let's see what happens. If Denver wants to come up, if they are absolutely smitten on coming up, this might be the time to do it. I will not be happy if they do, but again, I trust Sean and George. Oh boy, here we go. Hey, I'm good with a defensive tackle in the first round. Sometimes skipping the sexy player and going with the player that's going to help your football team is the better move. And not saying that an offensive player won't help this football team win, but you could always use more defensive linemen. You never have enough of them. That's the philosophy that the Philadelphia Eagles have adopted, and it won them a Super Bowl. I do like Jaden Higgins. I do like him. I don't know if he's going to go tonight. He might go early tomorrow, but I do like him a lot. He could be an ex-receiver in the NFL, and if Denver eventually moves on from Courtland Sutton, then maybe Higgins could be your long-term Courtland Sutton replacement. Not necessarily, Robert. Not necessarily. You need guys who can rotate in with those players. Zach Allen played an ungodly amount of snaps these past 2 years, and that's not sustainable long term. He's eventually going to get hurt if he keeps playing that many snaps. So you need guys who you can rotate in so you can keep all of your defensive linemen fresh. Thank you so much, Mad Space, for the $2. I really appreciate it, my friend. If we spend the 20th pick on Henderson, I'm going to crash out. I don't know if that's what they would do. I think they might try to trade down and then trade back up again and land Henderson a little bit later on and still pick up some extra draft capital in the process. All right, we still have not heard anything with Cleveland. They could go Ashton Genty here. They could feel confident about him. I mean, Nick Chubb, is he even still on Cleveland's roster right now? I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's coming off of that gruesome knee injury, and then he broke his foot at the end of last year. So, I don't know if they just want to maybe move forward and try to completely revamp their running game with Ashton Genty. I could see it. And I think we'll still see offensive improvement, Robert. You can still land a starting caliber running back in the second round, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of these top receivers drops out of the first round either, just because of the way that the board's been falling. So if that happens, Denver can still get an impact player even if they select a defensive tackle in round 1. Walter Nolan would be really fun. I don't know if he's going to be in striking distance, but he would be really fun. Mason Graham is a beast. He's the best interior defensive lineman in this class, but I think he goes no later than 11 to the San Francisco 49ers. All right, let's see what happens here. The clock is starting to tick. They are running out of time to make a trade if they're going to indeed make a trade. Oh, God, Draft Diamonds is broaching Shamar Stewart. Not here. I would not take Shamar Stewart here. That would be a reach of all reaches. That would be like the Raiders passing on Josh Hines Allen back in the day for Clelin Ferrell. You took a player who was clearly inferior at that position. And yes, Josh Hines Allen hasn't developed into the all-pro edge rusher that everyone thought he would, the perennial all-pro edge rusher, but he's still a good player and hell of a lot better than Clelin Ferrell. All right. Uh-oh. Do not freeze up on me, Twitter. God, this app has gone to hell since frickin' Elon took it over. Okay, the Browns are picking, and they are picking Mason Graham. We just talked about him, the top interior defensive lineman, so think about this now. The Cleveland Browns have a defensive line with Myles Garrett and Mason Graham. Oh, wow. Oh, dude, this is a low-key excellent pick for Cleveland. They were able to move down, get a top player in this draft class, and acquire the haul of draft picks that they did. Dare I say that Andrew Berry's actually doing a good job here? God, who would have thought when ownership stepped out of the spotlight and finally let Andrew Berry cook that he could do a good job at GM? Who would have freaking thought? Because I can tell you this, folks, it was not Andrew Berry's decision to bring in Deshaun Watson and completely sink the franchise with that move. That was an ownership decision. That was Jimmy Haslam. That was not Andrew Berry. But now they are starting to really build things up here, and Myles Garrett on the same defensive line as Mason Graham. Holy shit. Dude, that's insane. Because you're going to have to double team Myles Garrett there. You have to. You can't leave him one-on-one, but you can't leave Mason Graham one-on-one either. That is a matchup nightmare for offenses to have to account for. So, excellent, excellent pick by Cleveland. That's an A-plus move. That's my first A-plus of the day. But what that means is Ashton Jeanty is right there for the taking for the Las Vegas Raiders. Do they go with him or do they go with the trenches and take Armand Membo? If I had to guess right now, I think it's going to be Membo. I think Jeanty might slip here. I still don't want Denver to move up for him, though. I don't know, man. I don't think that it's a guarantee that they're going to take Jeanty here. I think that they really like Armand Membo. I could be wrong, and a couple minutes from now we sit here talking about them taking Ashton Jeanty, but I think that they really like Armand Membo, and they want to build up that offensive line and then plug in their running back a little bit later on. Unless they have a Clelin Ferrell moment. You never know, man, but this is a completely different Raiders regime that actually seems like they're halfway competent. We're about to find out if that is indeed a true statement here in just a few minutes, though. I don't think they're wrong either way if they go Jeanty or Membo. I think either way it'd be a good pick for them, and quite frankly, it's going to suck either way because they're going to get a good player no matter what. But getting Jeanty, that's obviously the pick that fans are going to notice a lot more. But I can tell you that having an all-pro left tackle that blocks Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper off the edge, that could be a problem for the Denver Broncos as well. So if they skip Jeanty and they go with Membo, that's not the sunshine, daisies, and rainbows that some people think it would be. I agree, but again, this is such a deep running back class, Robert, that you can get a starting caliber back later on, and I don't know if Pete Carroll wants to take a running back in the first round. Remember, he took Rashad Penny in the first round many moons ago in Seattle, and that pick burned him. So, I don't know, man. We'll see. But I think right now it's between Genty and Mimbo for the Raiders. But either way, man, it's going to suck for Denver. And this Raiders team is starting to become an actual force to be reckoned with here. I think that they're going to be better than people are anticipating. And I'm actually anticipating 4 playoff teams coming out of the AFC West. And even if the Raiders are 4th in the division, I can still see them being 9-7 or 9-8 and making the playoffs. But if the Raiders pass on Ashton Genty, then things could get a little bit spicy. If he falls down past the Jets, Carolina might take him at 8. They might. Or they could maybe field calls about somebody coming up. I just, again, really hope it's not Denver. Denver's official account just tweeted something. Let's see what we got. Oh, it's just Sean Payton, the War Room and crap. Greg and Carrie Penner. Genty puts more butts in seats. Yeah, but if Mark Davis has indeed turned things over to John Spytek and Pete Carroll in the football department, they're not going to give 2 craps about putting butts in seats. They're going to give 2 craps about winning football games. That's for the business department to worry about. But I don't anticipate Raiders trading down or anything like that here. They are going to pick a player. Let's just see if it's Mimbo or Genty. Ooh, things are getting spicy, folks. Things are getting really, really spicy. Once we get past, I think, the 10th pick, that's when things might kind of start to calm down a little bit. And once we get back towards number 20, that's when things are going to get a lot more exciting, I feel like. So this draft is going to kind of be in waves. It's going to be a wave of excitement, then a wave of sort of dullness and meeting expectations, and then a wave of excitement and shaking crap up again. The pick is in, and hold your breath. It's Ashton Genty. The Raiders could not pass on him. He's a generational running back. I don't blame him. I wouldn't be able to pass on him too if he fell right in your lap. Now this opens things up for Armand Mimbo, but Ashton Genty officially goes to the Raiders with the 6th overall pick. It is official. They got a good player, man, and I'm not looking forward to having to face the Raiders twice a year. So, yeah, man, I have to give this an A+, and that makes me barf doing it, but that is an A+ pick for the Las Vegas Raiders, and we will now have to deal with them 2 times a year. Pete Carroll, he wants to run the football. It's in his DNA. He eats, lives, and breathes running the football, and if you don't have a good running back, then you can't do it. I feel like you can still get a good running back later on, but like Brad said, Genty puts butts in the seats. Maybe ownership had influence on that pick because of that, but no matter how you were going to look at it, if it was Mimbo or if it was Genty, it was still going to be a good player going to the Raiders, and it still sucks no matter what for Denver. So, yeah, man, this is probably the worst of the 2 case scenarios, but I'm not saying that Mimbo going to the Raiders would have been a much better case scenario. Yep, they took Genty. It is official. So now the New York Jets are on the clock at 7. Do they want to go with Mimbo here now that the Raiders passed on him? Get some protection for Justin Fields, or do they want to get Justin Fields a weapon and go with Tyler Warren? So right now for the Jets, unless there's some sort of trade, which I do not anticipate at this point in time, for New York, it is going to be either Tyler Warren or Armand Mimbo. If it were up to me, I would go Mimbo. You build your team from the inside out, and you solidify the trenches first and foremost. get a franchise tackle in the building, and Armand Mimbo could fill that role for you. So that's who I'm taking if I'm the New York Jets. Yep, sucks, man. Genty going to the Raiders, but it is what it is. I never anticipated the Denver Broncos being in on Genty. I was hoping that Jacksonville was going to stay pat at 5 and take him, but they got more aggressive. Cleveland ended up with an excellent player in Mason Graham, and now we see here that freaking Ashton Genty going to the Raiders, it just sucks. There's no way around it. It does suck. But now all eyes are on Omarion Hampton and Travion Henderson for the Denver Broncos, and I will maintain what I said yesterday in my mock draft. If both of them are on the board, I still think that the Denver Broncos go with Travion Henderson over Omarion Hampton. All right. I am anticipating Tyler Warren here for the New York Jets. I would personally go with Mimbo, but Tyler Warren, another sexy pick here. We'll see. For the 8th pick has been affected with Ashton Genty off the board. There are less teams willing to trade up. I think Denver at least called, but I don't think they were ever interested in trading up. So I think now things might start to quiet down a little bit in terms of trades, unless maybe someone wants to come up and jump Chicago for Omarion Hampton. If I had to guess right now, the next picks are going to go Tyler Warren and then either Jalon Walker or Armand Mimbo to Carolina. I think with Mimbo falling, that at least makes it a little bit more of a conversation. Then I think it's going to be, after that, probably another tackle off the board to New Orleans unless they want to trade down. And then I think it's going to be Omarion Hampton to the Bears. Yep, I know a lot of people in Broncos country are bummed right now. But I can assure you that Denver is still going to come away with a really good player tonight regardless. And Ashton Genty officially gets announced by Rappaport and Shefty. So now we can start moving this forward here to the Jets. Yep, Maverick is amongst the people in Broncos country that is not happy about this. I get it, man. I get it. Facing Ashton Genty for 2 times a year is not going to be fun. Not at all. I'm just glad that they didn't trade away the farm to come up and get him. I would have been so mad if they had done that. Pete Carroll's serious about rebuilding this team in a very quick manner, and the Jets pick is in. They are going with Armand Mimbo. So Mimbo was expected to go at 6 to the Raiders. This trade between Cleveland and Jacksonville completely shook up the entire top 10, and now Mimbo, who in my opinion is the top tackle in this class, falls to the New York Jets. They've now got bookend tackles with, oh God, who was it that they drafted last year? Olu Fashanu, and Armand Mimbo. So New York, they've got tackles on both sides, protection for Justin Fields. I think this is a really excellent pick for them. I'm giving this an A+. Top tackle off the board now in Armand Mimbo, and one of the top players just on my big board in general. I think his pass protection and his run blocking are both excellent, and he's got potential to be a multi-year all-pro player. And like Robert said, the tight ends are starting to fall, and this is exactly what you want if you're the Denver Broncos. You want tackles to come off the board early, because more blue chip talent is going to fall closer and closer to Denver the more and more these tackles come off the board. And I believe that more tackles are going to come off the board here before we get out of the top 15. I think we're going to probably see at least 2 more tackles come off the board before we get out of the top 15, or at least the top 17, 18. But again, that's good news for the Broncos, and we're also going to continue to pull for Shedeur Sanders to fall, because if he falls to 20, that's good news for Denver. That means that they could possibly trade down, get some extra draft capital, maybe from Cleveland. They just picked up a haul in that trade with Jacksonville. Maybe Denver could recoup some of that draft capital themselves. So number 8, the Carolina Panthers are on the clock. With Membo off the board, I anticipate this to be Jalon Walker. Maybe they think about Tyler Warren, maybe, but Jalon Walker has been the heavy favorite to go to Carolina. He's a hybrid linebacker, edge rusher, and would be their Jadeveon Clowney successor long term. So if I had to guess right now, I'm going to go ahead and say Georgia's Jalon Walker comes off the board right here to Carolina. And then New Orleans, reports came out that they're maybe looking at a tackle. They declined their right tackle, Trevor Penning's 5th-year option. So they might be going with a tackle at number 9. Those are my upcoming picks if I had to guess. As far as which tackle, probably Kelvin Banks. Raiders had Jacobs. Look what they did trading him away. It will take a while for the Raiders to rebuild. I don't know, man. They're in pretty good position right now. They've got a really good quarterback in Geno Smith, who, I know this isn't a popular take, but I will hold this take firm. He is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. You look at the film, Geno Smith is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Additionally, now they've got Ashton Genty in the building. Their defense is going to be getting healthy after a lot of injuries last year. Christian Wilkins, their big-ticket free agent signing last year, went down early. Max Crosby was never healthy. I can't believe I'm praising the freaking Raiders, but I think that they're not going to be the easy out that some here in Broncos country think they're going to be. Playoff wins is not a metric of judging how good a quarterback is. That's a metric of judging how good a team he's been on. I encourage you, look at the film, look at the throws that Geno Smith makes with anticipation, timing, touch, accuracy. He has one of the best deep balls in the NFL. He had to deal with literally the worst offensive line in the entire NFL last year, and he made that offense look like a competent unit, and they won 10 games, despite having a terrible play caller, a terrible offensive line, and a bunch of injured running backs. Geno Smith is 100% a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and if you disagree, I highly encourage you to watch some film. All right, Carolina. Again, these teams have been told to drag these picks out just to fill TV time. That way, the talking heads don't have to blabber on for multiple minutes on end about just random nonsense if the team picks the player like 1 minute into being on the clock. So teams are being told to milk these picks. That's why we haven't seen Carolina make their pick yet. But as of right now, Carolina is on the clock at number 8. Do you see the Broncos going 1-1 with the Raiders this year? Yes, I think that is a very fair assessment. I think that they do ultimately go 1-1 with all 3 teams in the division. Can't wait for the Chiefs to go downhill. Yep, I'm looking forward to it too. They're probably going to end up with a tackle before tonight's over, but I still think that Kansas City has gotten worse as a football team, and all 3 of the other teams in the division have gotten better. That is true, Brad. They do need to bring in some other pieces, but that's what the rest of this draft is for. I do think they need some help in the secondary. They could probably use a linebacker, but I think this Raiders team is going to be a lot better in the first year of the Pete Carroll era than people are anticipating. So I think it's going to go Jalon Walker, Carolina, and then I think it's going to go one of the tackles to New Orleans, if I had to guess, probably Kelvin Banks. And the Giants are picking up Kayvon Thibodeau's fifth-year option, so despite... All right, I think we're back. Denver should have moved up, ET says. It was just going to be too much draft capital to give up. You would have been giving up basically your entire draft this year and your entire draft next year. I think we're back, guys. Someone confirm we're back. I don't understand the hate behind Bo Nix either, but some people had a preconceived opinion of him coming out of the draft. People thought that he wasn't going to be a successful NFL quarterback, and a lot of people are holding on to that preconceived notion, despite the fact that he proved them wrong in this year's draft or in this year's season. I mean, Nick Wright is just a talking head on TV that doesn't provide any meaningful analysis. He's just meant to blabber on TV and give ridiculous takes and give takes that are going to go viral on social media. But if you're looking for actual analysis, watch YouTube channels like Broncos Syndicate, Mile High Roundtable, Mile High Huddle, Sports Talk Denver. There are a lot of excellent YouTube channels out there. Let's Talk Broncos. Or if you want something more on a large scale on TV, watch NFL Live with Mina Kimes and Dan Orlovsky and company. I think all of them do an excellent job. Whoa! Carolina with a little bit of a surprise. I can't say I'm completely surprised, but I am a little bit surprised. Holy smokes. So Ted McMillan is, in my opinion, the top true receiver in this year's draft class. He's somebody who kind of does a little bit of everything. He can play X, he can play Z, he can play in the slot. There's a lot of different things you can do with Ted McMillan. I know there are some question marks about his overall love for and commitment to the game. I think that's a bunch of BS, personally. I never buy into that unless it's multiple reports from multiple reliable sources. I'm not buying into that at all, and clearly Carolina didn't either. This is now back-to-back years that they draft a wide receiver in the first round. They took Xavier Legette last year, who had his ups and downs and his growing pains as a rookie, and now they bring in a true alpha number one receiver for Bryce Young. They've still got Adam Thielen in the building as a wily old veteran, so Carolina has a sneaky good core of weapons around Bryce Young, and they're doing a great job of putting Bryce Young in a position to be successful. So they ultimately do not go defense. Their defense still needs a lot of work, but I think that they got a really good player for Bryce Young. I'm giving this a solid A-. Really good pick for the Carolina Panthers. So back-to-back years, man, they get Bryce Young, a first-round wide receiver. You can't say that Carolina isn't putting the resources around Bryce Young for him to succeed. And last year, I think we did see Bryce Young take those necessary steps forward once he came back from his benching. So we will see if he is able to take those steps forward again that he needs to take in year 3. This is going to be a make or break year for Bryce Young, and Carolina is putting all the resources around him that he needs to be successful. It's all on him now. They've got offensive line, a really good offensive line that they've invested in. They put a lot of money into that unit in free agency over the past couple of years, and now they invest in the core of weapons through the draft, and I think their philosophy is they're kind of trying to replicate, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins in Cincinnati. 3 young players that can all grow up together in the NFL, and I think that's kind of the overall philosophy that Carolina has. Panthers defense in general is pretty horrible, which is why I was expecting them to ultimately go with defense in this pick. But if Ted McMillan was their guy, then I can see why, because he has a lot of comps to Mike Evans, and Dave Canales, their head coach, was the Buccaneers offensive coordinator and had a lot of success with Mike Evans, so I can understand that. That's also why Jacksonville was named as a potential spot for Ted McMillan, but they had bigger fish to fry, and they went up and they got themselves Travis Hunter. All right, I think it's time to crack open another one of these. I'd say no, a wide receiver was not their biggest need, but it was still a need. They needed a number one guy because they had a bunch of Robins, but they never had a Batman, and they believe that Ted McMillan can be their Batman at wide receiver. It was still a need, though. They still needed a wide receiver. They couldn't go into this year with what they had, so I understand it. Probably not the pick I would have made, but they're just trying to put as many pieces around Bryce Young as they can, so I get it. I predict we trade to the last pick of the first round and pick Henderson. He won't be there that late. Washington loves him at 29. That's why in my mock draft, I had Denver trading down to number 33 with Cleveland and then trading back up to number 28 with Detroit. That is still something I can see happening, especially now with Cleveland picking up extra draft capital in that trade with Jacksonville. So now the New Orleans Saints are on the clock, and like I said, I do believe this to be an offensive tackle. They declined their right tackle, Trevor Penning's fifth-year option. Ryan Ramczyk retired. They need help on the offensive line, so I do believe this is going to be a tackle here for the New Orleans Saints. Probably Kelvin Banks if I had to guess. Chargers, Chiefs, and Commanders are all interested in running backs. This is a fact. I think that the Chargers and the Chiefs have more pressing needs. Chargers on defense, Chiefs on the offensive line, but Washington's in a position where they can kind of go with whatever player they want. They don't really have a standout glaring need on their roster, so if Washington wants Travion Henderson at 29, I don't think they're going to be hesitant to take him if he's there. That's why Denver would need to jump him. All right, the pick is in for the Saints. It's not a quarterback. We don't know who it is yet, but Josina Anderson says it's not a quarterback. No surprise. I didn't anticipate them taking a quarterback here. Maybe they try to jump back into the first round and get a quarterback, but with all this news about Derek Carr's injury, some thought they would take a quarterback here. I saw Jackson Dart mocked here as early as number 9. That never materialized, but let's see who they do indeed take. Yes, the Saints do need pass rush as well, so that wouldn't be a bad pick for them. Trenches on either side of the ball is never a bad pick. I will always approve of a trench player coming off the board. Yep, Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland are still on the board, but Tyler might not be lasting too much longer now that Chicago's on the clock. And it is indeed Kelvin Banks for the New Orleans Saints. So they get bookend tackles now with Talise Fuaga and Kelvin Banks. There is kind of some question with Banks as well. Is he a tackle or is he a guard at the NFL level? New Orleans will probably try him at tackle first, and if he doesn't work out there, they might try to kick him inside to guard. But overall, New Orleans desperately needed help on the offensive line. Solid pick. A. I'm going to say solid A on this one. So now we've got the Chicago Bears on the clock at number 10. I've seen Tyler Warren mocked here. I think the fact that Warren is available for the taking is very possible. I also think this could be an Omarion Hampton destination. I've heard that the Bears really like this running back class, and I do believe that they would be okay with taking Omarion Hampton at 10. So right now I'm going to say either Tyler Warren or Omarion Hampton for the Chicago Bears. Does nobody want Sanders? What I think happened with Sanders is the NFL never viewed him quite as high as fans and media did. I do believe he's going to be drafted tonight, but it's probably going to be in the 20s, possibly at 20 if somebody wants to come up with Denver and jump the Steelers at 21. That's what I'm currently hoping happens and what I kind of think will happen as well. So Banks off the board. Again, I think this is either going to be Tyler Warren or Omarion Hampton here for the Bears. If I had to put money on it right now, I would probably say it's going to be Tyler Warren. But yeah, I just don't think that Shedeur Sanders was viewed as highly across the NFL as he was with fans and media. So that just kind of happens every single year, man. Fans will get obsessed with a prospect early on, and teams will scout them and realize, oh, this dude is not worth the hype, but fans will still continue to hype up the player up until draft day, even though the league knows that the player is not worthy of being drafted as high as fans think. Yes, Sanders, in the eyes of the league, is overrated. I think the league's undervaluing him. That's just my personal opinion, but it just seems like the league is not a big fan of Shedeur Sanders. They're not a big fan of the baggage that comes with him, i.e. his dad. I know that there are some teams that have him off of their board because of Dion, so yeah, man, Shedeur Sanders is not your ordinary draft prospect. He comes with baggage, and he's not without controversy. And I don't think that Shedeur's like immature, or I don't think there's any like character concerns or anything like that with him. The report that came out from this anonymous NFL scout saying it was one of the worst professional interviews he's ever been a part of, that is absolute bullcrap. But I do feel like there is some associated BS with Shedeur, especially with his dad, that a lot of teams just don't want to put up with. And I get it. I do. I don't think he's a locker room cancer. Teammates talk about him in a positive light all the time. But I do think that, again, he just comes with baggage. It's not necessarily bad baggage either. It's just baggage. And some teams don't want to deal with it. They want guys who are all business, all ball, and no distraction. And Shedeur Sanders does not come without distraction. So, let's see. Will Tyler Warren come off the board, or will it be Omarion Hampton? Or does Chicago shock us and go somewhere else? And then after that, San Francisco 49ers are on the clock. I was possibly anticipating a Mason Graham slide out of the top 10, and that would have been the direction San Francisco went. But now I think that they could go offensive line. They need guard and they need tackle help. All right, we just got a tweet from Eric Eldom that says, hold on to your hats here at 10. Something could be cooking up. We will know very shortly. Okay, whoa. Hold on to your hats for this one, Broncos country. This is the shock of the draft. The pick is in for the Chicago Bears. They are taking Colston Loveland at 10. So Tyler Warren is not the first tight end off the board. It is Colston Loveland at 10. With Tyler Warren slipping down, I think a couple of teams might be calling about coming up. And yes, Denver's one of them. Indianapolis is probably another one, but Denver might be getting on the horn right now. Maybe with San Francisco at 11 to try to get Tyler Warren. That is the shock of the draft. Nobody had Colston Loveland coming off before Tyler Warren. Holy crap. So Loveland is not a true traditional inline tight end. He's kind of a guy that's a twinger between an inline guy and a big slot, but he profiles similarly to Sam Laporta. So this is Ben Johnson going out and getting his Sam Laporta. Excuse me. Holy crap, dude. That is the shock of the draft. With Tyler Warren starting to fall, I do believe Denver really likes him. If there is one player that I would be in favor of Denver coming up for, it would be Tyler Warren. So, holy crap, things could get really interesting here with Denver if they want to get on the horn right about now. Wow, 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 wow. We might have a trade here with San Francisco. I don't know anything yet, but just like Bobby says, the Niners are our buddies. Do they want to move out of the pick, though, is the question of the day. But things could start to get spicy now with number 11. I did not see this coming. Okay, wow. This is a little bit of a shock. I didn't quite see this player going this early. The 49ers do not trade out. They ended up going with Georgia edge rusher Mykel Williams. Makes sense. He's a bigger-bodied edge rusher that profiles well in Robert Saleh's 4-3 scheme. They needed another edge rusher to go alongside Nick Bosa, so yeah, makes sense for them. I don't hate this pick. I think that they probably could have gotten better value if they traded down, or hell, maybe even if they had just taken Tyler Warren, they could have maybe thought about moving on from George Kittle, but not a bad pick. I'm going to give that solid B+. Decent pick. Kind of surprised that he comes off the board a little bit early, but hey, man, if you like your guy, you like your guy, and he's probably the best, 4-3, bigger-bodied edge rusher in this class. All right, so we are now officially at number 12. And news has come out that the NFL will release their schedule May 14th. So another exciting bit of news to look forward to here. All right, let's see here. All right, so we've got the Dallas Cowboys now on the clock here at number 12. I believe that this is going to be Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of Texas. Dallas really likes him. That's been a poorly kept secret for some time now. They view him as a potential wide receiver too, alongside CeeDee Lamb. So I could very easily see Matthew Golden being the pick here for the Dallas Cowboys. I like the tight ends in the second. Let Warren go elsewhere. Hey, man, I like the tight ends in the second, too. I really like Mason Taylor, so it wouldn't completely hurt my feelings if they passed on Warren, but I also would be upset if they didn't at least inquire about moving up. I'm very happy we didn't trade our picks away to get into the top 10. I don't think that was ever an option. I think that was just nothing more than fan and media scuttlebutt. The Broncos front office knew that was going to be too much to give up. All right, again, I anticipate this pick to Dallas to be Matthew Golden. Maybe they go Tyler Warren just because he fell there, but I anticipate this to be Matthew Golden. And he is a speed merchant. Matthew Golden definitely is a very fast receiver. Some people were saying that Denver could maybe trade up for him. I believe it was Ian Rappaport. But Denver has two receivers who profile similarly to him in Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin. So, I don't know. I would never have traded up for Matthew Golden. And I think he's about to come off the board right here to the Dallas Cowboys. Chicago Bears, man, they are not messing around. They have brought in so far this offseason Jonah Jackson and Joe Thuney via trade. They signed Drew Dahlman, Olamide Zaccheaus, and Devin Duvernay in free agency, and now they have drafted Colston Loveland. Cowboys could go Hampton. They could. They very well could. Pair one UNC Tar Heel running back with another. I could see it. I could definitely see that. I still think it's going to be Golden, but it wouldn't shock me either if Hampton came off the board right here. But wow, dude, I still cannot believe that Chicago went with Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren. But again, they feel like he's going to be their Sam Laporta in this offense, so I do understand it. Come on, Dallas, hurry up. Then after that, we got the Miami Dolphins on the clock. They were named as a potential trade destination if Denver wanted to come up. If Dallas doesn't take Tyler Warren here, we could maybe see Denver come up to 13 with the Miami Dolphins. Again, if there's one player that I would be okay with trading up for, it's Tyler Warren. I do believe that he will go 14 to Indianapolis if he lasts that far, though. Indianapolis has made it well known that they want a tight end. Yeah, and for some teams, the arm length is a problem because of blocking and also because you have to put your hand in the dirt. I can understand some teams being turned off by that with Warren. But again, I just feel like Loveland was more of a scheme fit for Ben Johnson than Tyler Warren was. I just feel like it was kind of a similar profile to Sam Laporta, and Ben Johnson and company couldn't pass that up. That's what she said. But we are probably about an hour away from the Denver Broncos making their pick if they do indeed pick at 20. So things are approaching very quickly here, and we again could see Denver come up. Come on, Jerry. Hurry up and make the pick. Oh, boy. Are we getting Tyler Warren? I don't know. I do think it is more possible than it was when we entered the draft. I don't think anybody saw Loveland coming off the board before Warren. Indy needs a corner, and they're all there. The thing is, though, they say that they really want a tight end. They think that tight end can help maybe unlock Anthony Richardson. I don't think that's the case. I think Richardson's a lost cause, but that's kind of their logic there. Tight end is the one big missing piece on their offense outside of quarterback, and tight end could maybe help out Anthony Richardson. So that's kind of their logic there. Jerry does like his offensive linemen. We'll see if one of them comes off the board here. Maybe Josh Simmons? If they do go offensive line, I think it'll be Josh Simmons. But Jera is taking his sweet time with this one. I'm seeing some people tweet out that they're in a group chat with Bears fans and they're not happy. I don't know, man. I wouldn't be pissed off if I were a Bears fan. I'd like that pick. But then again, man, Bears fans are some of the hardest to please in the entire NFL. For Denver, Tommy, I'm still maintaining Henderson right now. That's who I think Denver ultimately ends up with tonight. Now, that's not who I want Denver to end up with tonight, but that's who I do think Denver will end up with. If this were I could just pick any player that I want out of who's left, I'd probably go with Kenneth Grant. Or Tyler Warren, obviously, but if he gets taken after that, I'd probably say Kenneth Grant. And I think the Broncos do as well, Bobby. I think that Henderson is Denver's guy, and I think that if both Henderson and Hampton were on the board, they would still take Henderson. Warren to Dallas. I could see it. I could see it. They have a couple of fine starting caliber tight ends on their roster, but bringing in a guy like Warren who would immediately elevate their entire offense as a whole. All right, Dallas just tweeted out that the pick's in, but internet has not gotten wind of it yet. Dallas is keeping this as quiet as they can. And again, they're trying to milk this as long as they can for TV reasons. So that way they can fill up the full 4 hours worth of airtime. I think this is the calm before the storm. I do think this is the calm before the storm. I think that we're going to see some major action here as we get closer and closer to 20. I agree, Brad. I would absolutely love Kenneth Grant at 20. Double gap clogging, nail eating interior defensive lineman? Absolutely. Opinions on the Broncos taking Nick Emmanwori, superstar potential. I don't think he's on their radar. I think he's more maybe fit for somebody like Minnesota. I don't think that Emmanwori's on the Broncos' radar, but I do quite like him. I had him going to Minnesota in my most recent mock draft, or my only mock draft. So Dallas is really taking their sweet time with this pick. Again, I still think it's going to be Matthew Golden, but Warren wouldn't surprise me here, and offensive line also wouldn't totally shock me here. Whoa! Okay. Tyler Booker, the guard out of Alabama. So Dallas needs a guard. I get it, and he is the top guard available in this draft class, so I can understand it. Are we still dead? Are we still dead? No, it's just my internet glitches out on occasion. It lasts for like 10 seconds, and then it comes back. Still a lot better than what we had to deal with last year. No, my Wi-Fi card, Tommy, is out on this laptop, so I have to route the internet through my phone, and occasionally the mobile hotspot drops. So I'm hoping that we can have a nice successful draft in terms of ad revenue. That way I can replace this old laptop. I don't want to have to use my gaming PC to make content. I don't want to bloat it up with all the software and stuff. But if I absolutely have to, I will. But this laptop, it's pretty much lasted my entire YouTube career, so I can't be mad at it, but it is kind of starting to go on the fritz. Yes, absolutely. Please like and subscribe if you have yet to do so. That is the best way that you can help out and help me rebuild my equipment arsenal here. Why not just buy another SSD? This computer's not worth investing the money into. I might buy just like a little cheap one that you can plug in through USB that you can get at Walmart. What games do you play? I play a lot of Madden. That's really one of the biggest things that I play. And I play like old Madden, like Madden 08. I do play some of the newer Madden too, but I really love like old school Madden. I want to get maybe a console in order to start playing college football 26 once I get the console. So, mostly football related games. I will occasionally jump into like Minecraft and stuff like that. But I don't game a ton, even though I have a gaming PC. All right, so the Miami Dolphins are now on the clock, and this was a potential destination in one of the mock drafts that I saw yesterday where Denver came up. I believe it was Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft that they came up, and it was for Colston Loveland, but it would be the same sort of logic here if they were to come up for Tyler Warren. It was not Matthew Golden to Dallas. It was Tyler Booker. That got announced when we glitched out. So Tyler Booker is the top guard in this draft. I'm a little surprised that he went this high, but Dallas has a need there, so I do understand it. I think that Tyler Booker can be a really excellent football player. It's just a little bit high for my liking for him. I was thinking he was probably going to go more like late 20s, but I get it. I do get it. You know, Emeka Egbuka to Miami would not shock me completely. I do think that they're going to move on from Tyreek Hill sooner rather than later. I do feel like they're probably going to go with corner here. I had mocked Jiad Baron to Miami here at 13, so that's a big position need for them, especially with the news that they're going to move on from Jalen Ramsey. I could also see them going offensive line, maybe Josh Simmons. They just lost their left tackle to Ron Armstead to retirement. But I am a little bit surprised Tyler Booker went as high as he did to Dallas. Starks could also be a possibility here, or Emanwari. Safety is a position of need for Miami. Their entire secondary needs work, quite frankly. It almost feels like they need 5 new starters in the secondary. Maybe their nickel Kader Kohu. But outside of that, well, yeah. So if no trade materializes here with Miami, I don't think are going to be in play here for Tyler Warren. He might very well fall into the lap of the Indianapolis Colts at 14. That is not what I anticipated happening, but hey man, crazier things have happened in the NFL. That Jaguars-Browns trade at the beginning of the draft really threw everything for a loop. Haven't made our pick yet, Kenneth. Probably not going to make it for another hour or so, I would say. Well, maybe not an hour. Maybe closer to like 40 minutes. Maybe about 40 minutes. I think we're in a great spot at 20, especially now after 10 picks. For sure. For sure. Dallas screwed up bad. I was anticipating them going Matthew Golden. I did not see them going with Tyler Booker, but just like somebody said in the chat, man, Jerry Jones loves his offensive linemen. So this is probably going to be a defensive player for Miami or maybe offensive line. If Matthew Golden falls to 20, I could see Denver maybe pulling the trigger there. That would be a bit of a surprise, I'm not going to lie, just because Denver already has 2 speedy wide receivers on their roster, but Ian Rappaport was saying that he could see Denver being interested in Golden. That would probably be my least ideal scenario, in my opinion. So Kevin Stefanski is talking to Browns media right now, so it doesn't seem like they're working the lines on a trade yet, but there is going to be a little bit of time before they have to make a decision there. We got 40 people in the house. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you could just do me a big favor and smash the like button as well as subscribe if you have yet to do so, I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country, just like you and me. All right. And then here in a second, I'm going to have to just get up and walk around a little bit. That way my legs don't cramp up. If I sit for too long, I get the worst calf cramps known to humanity. Okay, so reports are already coming out that the Colts are going to go with Tyler Warren at 14. So Miami is not going to take him. I don't know if Miami is going to go defense or offensive line, but it does seem like Indianapolis is going to get Tyler Warren. Oh, damn it. One of my favorite players is off the board with Miami. They just took Kenneth Grant. God, that sucks. Oh, that absolutely sucks. One of my favorite players, 340-pound, double gap clogging, nail eating defensive tackle. He's going to be an excellent fit on this Dolphins defense. I am super bummed right now. I would have loved to get Kenneth Grant at 20. One of my top players and probably my second favorite defensive lineman outside of Mason Graham is now off the board. Walter Nolan's still on the board. Derek Harmon's still on the board. There are still good defensive linemen on the board, but a really good one just went to Miami and Kenneth Grant. Congratulations, Donovan and Jacob at Miami Dolphins Syndicate. You guys just got a really good player. All right, well, it looks like Tyler Warren is going to fall right into the laps of the Indianapolis Colts at 14. Outside of that Cleveland Browns trade, we have not seen any trades at this point in time. So we will see if we have one materialize before Denver's pick. But if not, I could see Denver making a trade at 20. Hampton might be there, guys. Hampton and Henderson might both be there, though. So we'll see if Denver wants to risk losing out on one of them and trading down. Because right now it's looking at both of them are going to be there. Kenneth Grant goes to Miami at 13. And officially now Tyler Warren goes to Indianapolis at 14. Indianapolis probably got their top-rated player on their board. Lucky them. A-plus move for Indianapolis. And they just lucked into an excellent fit on their offense. Now what I'm curious about is are they going to pull that number 44 out of retirement? Is Dallas Clark going to let Tyler Warren wear his number 44 there in Indianapolis? I don't know. But great fit for their offense. They've needed a tight end for some time now. And the two top tight ends in this class are officially off the board. Brad says it's looking like a trade down for the Broncos. I think that is very likely, especially with Cleveland having that extra draft capital. If Shedeur Sanders is available at 20, then I think trade down for Denver is very much in play. The question is, though, with who? Maybe the Giants, but with Cleveland having all that extra ammo, it just makes so much sense. In my ideal world, I would trade down and then trade back up if you are going to go Henderson. But if it were up to me, I would probably go with either Walter Nolan or maybe Derek Harmon at 20. I don't think pretty easily, Bobby, you would have still had to help unlock Anthony Richardson. I don't buy that. I think Anthony Richardson's a lost cause. Maybe Daniel Jones can step in and play okay, but I don't think that the quarterback of the future for Indianapolis is currently on the roster. We could pick up multiple weapons over one special one. I'd take multiple. I'm with you. I am 100% with you. I would rather have more darts that you can throw at the board than less. Because the more darts you have, the greater chance you have at hitting. All right, so we are now at 15 overall. The Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. And I am anticipating this to be edge rusher Mike Green out of Marshall. On the field, Mike Green is awesome. I want to make that perfectly clear. He's one of the best edge rushers in this class. I think that he's got really excellent pass rush moves. He's a freak athlete. On the field, no problems at all with Mike Green, but there are some significant off-the-field concerns with him. Subjects that I can't talk about on this channel because the video would get demonetized, but there are some off-the-field concerns with Mike Green that teams are going to have to thoroughly vet, but if Atlanta wants the best pass rusher that's still available, it is easily Mike Green. They've needed an edge rusher for a long time. They needed one last year. They didn't take one. They ultimately took Michael Penix. Now, I think this is finally the year that Atlanta gets their edge rusher in the first round. This is most likely going to be Mike Green here. So far, Denver's letting the draft come to them, man. Just like Mike Kliss said here in this tweet. They're letting the board fall to them, not forcing things. And that's ultimately how I think Denver should operate in general. Don't force anything and just let the board fall to you. All right, so after the Atlanta Falcons, who I anticipate taking Mike Green, we've got the Arizona Cardinals on the clock. They need a corner, they need a guard, they need a tackle, so those are positions that Arizona could be looking at. Maybe interior defensive line for Arizona as well, but I'd probably prioritize corner or offensive line ahead of defensive line for Arizona right now. But we got to, of course, make sure that Atlanta is indeed taking Mike Green or one of the edge rushers. Brad says corner for Arizona. So probably either Jiad Baron or maybe Will Johnson. Another first-round name I've heard at corner is possibly Benjamin Morrison. He's been getting some first-round buzz recently. There's a clip going viral on Twitter right now from Sleeper NFL. Colts' new QB1, Tyler Warren. It's a clip of him taking some snaps at Wildcat quarterback. I can't show it on here for copyright reasons. Enter excessive background clicking. Sorry, I'm trying to refresh Twitter, make sure that I'm not missing anything. Sorry about that. But all right, so Atlanta's pick has still not officially been announced. I still anticipate it to be Mike Green. Things are getting really interesting here, guys. It's looking like Denver is probably going to have their choice between Omarion Hampton and Travion Henderson at 20, and if they're both there, that probably gives you the opportunity to trade down if you want to, and you'll probably guarantee that one of them is still going to be there. It's not a complete guarantee, but you have a really good chance. Holy Diver is saying Henderson. I do think that is Denver's top running back. I don't know if that's Denver's top player that's still on the board, but I do believe that Henderson is Denver's top running back. Could be wrong. Could be very much wrong. We could be seeing Hampton coming off the board to Denver, but if I had to guess right now, I'm going to say it's Henderson. You see, Hampton just reminds me too much of Javonte Williams. The bad vision, the constant looking for contact, that could lead to injury concerns down the line. I don't know, man. I just have PTSD from Javonte Williams. That's why I'm so low on Hampton, I guess. With Henderson, though, I just feel like he profiles better as a receiver, and Sean Payton's looking for these Joker-type players, so why not bring in the best running back that's at least close to a Joker? I don't think he's a complete Joker, but he can at least do some of the Joker-type stuff that Sean Payton's looking for. Henderson can pass block better. That is true. And that could maybe tip the scales in favor of Henderson as well. I do think with Hampton, he's got some good pass blocking production on his tape as well. I like Hampton's pass blocking, but Henderson is just a little bit undersized. But you look at the tape, man, it's good. He's got a good anchor, a good base, but if he's trying to block a 275-pound edge rusher or a 256-pound linebacker, that might be a little bit tough for him. All right, so we are still waiting on Atlanta. They are taking their sweet time with this one. Imagine if Atlanta passes on an edge rusher again. I think their fans would riot their headquarters if that happened. I feel great with Bidet. I mean, if he can bounce back and stay healthy after that really scary injury that he had last year, then that would certainly be awesome. But I don't know if you could depend on Tyler Bidet to stay healthy at this point, because that's not the only injury that he's suffered in his career, and that was a really scary injury. D-Rock says Derek Harmon at 20. I've heard some reports indicating that Harmon could fall out of the first round altogether because of medicals. Denver might be able to get him in the second round. We need a running back, a high draft running back. Well, you could still get a running back in the second round, and that would still be a highly drafted running back. And I think you could still find an RB1 in the second round too. God, Atlanta is taking their sweet time with this. Is this the worst draft so far for George and Sean Payton? They haven't even made their pick yet. I don't think you could say anything to the positive or to the negative until they make their pick. I would have said that it would have been their worst draft if they had traded up for Genty, but that's just me. But it's going to be hard for this year to be their best draft because last year they came away with Bo Nix. George said he's never been this prepared. That's what happens when you have continuity in the front office. This is George and Sean's third draft together. They're on the same page. They're thinking on the same wavelength. So, okay, Atlanta does take an edge rusher, but it's not the one that I was anticipating. They go with Jalon Walker at 15. I was anticipating him going as high as 9 to Carolina, so instead he does go to the NFC South, but remains in Georgia instead of going to North Carolina. He's a tweener guy that can play both off-ball linebacker and pass rush. Atlanta desperately needs a pass rusher, so that's probably where he's going to play there. Solid pick overall, and I can understand passing on Mike Green because there are those off-the-field concerns with him, and there is the versatility that Walker provides. So, solid pick. I'll give it a B+. You're not stuck picking anybody, ET. You don't have to pick the player if you don't like the player. It's that simple. So the Arizona Cardinals are now on the clock, and like I talked about, they need corner, they need offensive line, maybe defensive line, so those are the positions I would keep an eye on there. Maybe this is where a guy like Jiad Baron comes off the board. That is a possibility. Or maybe they go with Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle. Or they could go Walter Nolan. They could go Walter Nolan here. All right, so after Arizona at 16, we've got Cincinnati at 17, Seattle at 18, Tampa Bay at 19, and Denver at 20. We are getting hella close, Broncos country, to the Denver Broncos making their pick. And the closer and closer we get to 20, the more and more it looks like Denver is either going to stay at 20 or trade down. And Shedeur Sanders continues to fall. That is good news for Denver, because that means that they've got a really good opportunity of trading out at 20 and getting some significant draft capital in return. Yes, Tyler Warren got drafted, but now he's got to play with Anthony Richardson as his quarterback. He lost today. Ouch. Broncos are taking Hampton, mark my word. I don't know, man. I just don't think Hampton is their top-rated running back. We'll see, though. We will see, and we will find out very soon. Because it does, at this point, look like he is going to be there at 20. That's what I'm hoping for, Brad. I'm hoping that somebody like Cleveland comes up to 20 and drafts Shedeur Sanders. You could get a lot of draft capital out of Cleveland if they were to make that move. Genty, Hunter, and Tyler Warren are all gone. If you were anticipating Denver getting one of those players, ET, then that's not something that was ever going to happen. They were never going to end up with any one of those players. The cost to come up to get one of them would have just been too much. But we are seeing all kinds of linemen, both offensive and defensive, come off the board, and that is good news for Denver because that just continues to push more and more blue chip talent down the board. Shannon Sharp had Hampton on his show a couple of days ago. I think he knew something we don't. I don't know. Obviously, Shannon is in the news right now for certain reasons that we're not going to discuss here on this channel because I do not want to get demonetized. All right, so after Arizona, then we're going to have Cincinnati, who should address the trenches. They should go offensive or defensive line, but knowing Cincinnati, they're not going to do that, and they're going to make some sort of sexy pick. Hey, man, offensive linemen are sexy too, damn it. Can't believe we're already about halfway done, guys. This draft is moving quick. And just a reminder, we will also be live tomorrow night and all day long on Saturday. We will be reacting to every single pick made by every single team. So if you guys are enjoying this stream, we will be in action for all 3 days of the draft. So I hope you guys can continue to tune in for all of the festivities and fun here on Broncos Syndicate. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. I greatly, greatly appreciate it, guys. Really do. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. I wouldn't be able to do this for a living. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you. I'd just say, look it up, Julian. It's not great. Sean doesn't trade down, but George does. Yep. And it is a collaborative effort, so I don't think any one of them is going to have the say over the other. It's a collaborative decision that both of them have to be in on to make happen. Otherwise, it won't happen if both of them don't sign off on it, in my opinion. I don't think they go Igbokwe. I don't think that he profiles like the wide receiver that the Denver Broncos need. And I also think that Denver is happier with their receiver room. And another defensive tackle is off the board. Walter Nolan goes to Arizona at 16. Nolan has the highest ceiling out of probably all of the interior defensive linemen in this class. He's an athletic freak, but he is also inconsistent. He whiffs sometimes. He has poor pad level, and sometimes he just kind of looks like he's lost out there. But the potential is sky high with Walter Nolan, and with a defensive-minded head coach like Jonathan Gannon, who worked with a bunch of really good defensive linemen in Philadelphia, this makes hella sense for them. I'm bummed that Nolan isn't in consideration for Denver now, but that is a really good pick for Arizona. So now we are officially at 17 here with the Cincinnati Bengals. If they're smart, then they will go with offensive tackle or maybe defensive line. They will try to get some help in the trenches, but if they're not smart, which historically Cincinnati hasn't been, then this could be an Emeka Egbuka spot. I'm not even joking. But Cincy is now on the clock at 17, followed by Seattle at 18, and then Tampa Bay at 19, and Denver at 20. So at this point, I think Denver trading up is probably off the table. And it also looks like they're probably going to have their pick of the litter on running backs. So I think the board is falling about as well as Denver wants it to right now. Dude, my neighbors are blasting loud-ass music. I hope you guys can't hear that. That is annoying as hell. So, will Cincy finally make the smart, informed decision? If this were up to me, they would go offensive line or defensive line. Sean just needs to trade down now, I do agree. Yep. I think that would be the smart move for Denver, because if both of the running backs are there at 20, if you trade down, you're probably still going to have a pretty good chance of getting at least one of them. So why not try to manipulate the board here and take advantage maybe of a team trying to come up for Shedeur Sanders, because barring something extraordinarily unforeseen, Shedeur Sanders is also going to be on the board at 20, and Denver could move down with a team like Cleveland or maybe the Giants. Chris Harris Jr. wants the Broncos to go with Will Johnson. I don't see that happening. I don't think they're going to go corner in the first round, but you never know, man. This is the NFL draft. Blast Kids Bop. Yeah, I've got some really annoying neighbors, man. They blast music super late at night. Shakes the entire wall and crap. Yeah, super duper annoying. Have consideration for your neighbors, folks. Especially at night. And if you live in an apartment. Yeah, the news with Shannon Sharpe is not good. And I don't like to get myself involved with any of those conversations, because it just opens up a can of worms that I don't want to be involved with. Yep, understandable, E.T. That one hurt a lot of members of Broncos country, but that's just how the board falls sometimes. And the Raiders were going to end up with a really good player no matter what. Because if they didn't take Genty, they were going to take Armand Membo, and they would have gotten a franchise tackle. So either way, it was going to be the Raiders getting a good player. Them getting Genty definitely sucks, though. All right, I fully anticipate this to be a trench player here for Cincinnati. Will they actually do the right thing? Patience resolves pressure? Absolutely. the Seahawks could go running back, Brad says. I think the Seahawks are going to go with Gray Zabel. Zabel is a guy who can play center at the NFL level, and the Seahawks lost their center to retirement mid-season last year, so I think they're going to go with Gray Zabel. Okay, the Cincinnati Bengals go with Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M. Little high for Shamar Stewart, in my opinion. I thought he was going to go in the back half of the first round, but Cincy needed a trench player. Whether it was offensive line, interior defensive line, or edge, they needed a trench player. So they come away with a trench player. They come away with a defensive player addressing one of the worst defenses in the NFL. So, yeah, man, good move for Cincinnati. Can't quite give it an A, but I will give it a solid B pick. I don't think that it was the greatest pick in the world, but overall, they did need help in the trenches, and they got help in the trenches. So now, the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock at 18. I anticipate this to be Gray Zabel. Bring in some offensive line help for Seattle. Then it'll be Tampa Bay, and then it'll be Denver, guys. So we are super duper close to the Denver Broncos being on the clock. I would say that probably in about 20 minutes or so. So I will give you guys this opportunity now. If you need to step away from the stream, go to the bathroom, get a drink, anything that you guys need to do, this is probably a good time to go ahead and do that. This is going to be the calm before the storm. So we are still waiting on Seattle's pick. That's probably going to take a few minutes here. Wow, man. Shamar Stewart to the Bengals. That is a surprise. I think we need Bo Nix's brother. He's a guy that you would probably be able to get round 5, round 6. So day 3, I would definitely keep an eye on that. Thank you, Brad. I'm actually going to go do that. I'm going to go and stretch and just walk around for a second and stretch my legs out. So I'm going to step off for just a second, guys. If you guys need to do the same, I would encourage you to do so now. Alright, walked around, stretched out my legs a little bit. Definitely not comfortable sitting for multiple hours at a time. Alright, so we are still waiting on Seattle. But at this point, man, Denver's going to have their choice between Hampton or Henderson. Harmon's also going to be there. And they're definitely going to have some scenarios, I feel like, where they can trade down. So the board's falling probably exactly how Denver wanted it to fall right about now. All right, Shamar Stewart has been officially announced. So we are just waiting on Seattle now. And again, I think this is going to be Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. Sure, Merlot, I can do that. Yeah, I got it right here. There we go. The poll should be up now, guys. See, and that's the thing. It's all about fit for me, Julian, and that's why I am Team Henderson over Hampton. The Broncos have been gassing up Audric Estime recently. I think that they still are really high on him. So, I don't know, man. I think that if that is indeed the case, then you're probably leaning towards Henderson. I'm also hearing some recent rumblings, like as of just right now, about Will Johnson. Zach Stevens of DNVR just tweeted that out. God, imagine if they went corner and went after Will Johnson. That would be the shock of the draft. I don't know if I'd be a fan of that. I don't think I'd be a fan of that at all. You have good running backs on the board. You could still go with a guy like Derek Harmon. Hell, I wouldn't even hate Jiad Campbell here, honestly. But corner, ugh. But we are getting hella close, guys. We're just a couple picks away. Hindy's more problematic for defenses. I would agree, and I think that he profiles better as a quote-unquote joker in Sean Payton's offense. Is he an elite receiver out of the backfield? No, but he's a really good receiver out of the backfield and would be the closest thing that Denver's had to a joker in a while. Only defense one in the first round would be defensive line. That's it. I would agree with that. But, again, Denver could shock us, man. They could go corner here. I've seen a couple of people mock it to Denver in the first round. I'm not a big fan of it, but it could happen. And the more and more Shedeur Sanders falls, again, guys, the more and more I think it's possible that Denver trades down. Especially with that haul that they could potentially get from Cleveland. Come on, Seattle, is your pick in yet? Yep, it is Gray Zabel to the Seattle Seahawks. One of the worst kept secrets of the draft. They were saying back in January that Gray Zabel was going to be a Seattle Seahawk. I was hearing this down at the Shrine Bowl, and sure enough, Gray Zabel is a Seattle Seahawk. He can play center at the NFL level. He can also play tackle, but he's going to be their center. They lost their center, Connor Williams, to retirement, and now Denver is one pick away from being on the clock. I don't anticipate Tampa Bay going with running back here, so Hampton and Henderson are both going to be on the board for the Denver Broncos at 20 unless Tampa Bay does something extraordinarily unforeseen here. So we are getting close, and again, guys, we might have this pick when Tampa is still on the clock or before Tampa's pick has been announced. So once I see the pick, what I'm going to go ahead and do is tell you I have it. That way, you can have about 15, 20 seconds to dip out of here just in case you guys want to hear it on stream or on TV. I will admit, if it's a pick that really excites me, I might not be able to contain that excitement. That's what happened last year with Bo Nix. I was going to try to hold off and not announce the pick until I'd waited a few seconds, but once I saw Denver had drafted Bo Nix, I let out a scream of joy. So, fair warning, that might happen, but I will do my best to give you guys a heads up so that way you can get out of here before I spoil the pick. I would agree, Holy Diver. I would definitely agree. I am not typically endorsive of taking a running back in the first round, but I trust Sean Payton and I trust George Payton. Yeah, so did I, Bobby. So did I. And again, I tried to contain my excitement, but I just couldn't. I was so freaking pumped when they took Bo Nix. Someone could jump Denver at Tampa Bay's pick too. They could. They very well could. But I do think Denver is probably getting on the horn right about now with the Cleveland Browns, talking to them about maybe trading down. Will Denver make a pick or will they stay pat, Broncos country? Let me know what you guys think they're going to do. Will they make a pick or will they trade down? Yes, Jiad Campbell is still on the board. I would not hate that at all. Broncos need some linebacker help. I would not hate that at all. All right, guys, we are just, I would say, about 10, maybe 15 minutes away from officially finding out the pick for Denver. It's getting real, guys. It is getting real. Denver needs a running game, I agree, but you can also find guys who can contribute to that running game in the second and third round. That's how loaded this running back class is. And also, just a fair warning, guys, once the pick is announced, we will be going into video making mode just so we can get a quick little blurb video up on Broncos Syndicate. So if I'm ignoring the chat after the pick is officially announced, that is why. Not ignoring you guys completely, but I do have to get that video out as soon as possible once the pick is in. And then we will be going live tonight, guys, for sure, for Sean Payton and George Payton's press conferences. I don't know if the Denver Broncos are going to have a pre-draft press conference or a introductory press conference for their draft pick tonight. So if they do that, then I will stream that as well. Buccaneers are picking, so the Denver Broncos are on the clock. I don't know who Tampa has taken yet, but the Denver Broncos are officially on the clock, guys. Here we go. Here we go, guys. Shit is getting real right now. All right, Buccaneers are taking, let's see, we don't know yet. Who are the Buccaneers taking? Again, guys, I will try to give you a heads up if I can. If I don't scream like a little girl at the pick or cuss at the pick. But I will try to give you guys a heads up. That way you can dip out of here. If the pick does come in, I will announce it. Oh, boy. Okay, guys, here we go. We still don't know who Tampa's officially gone with, but Denver is on the clock. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I am hoping that they are listening to a phone call from Cleveland right now about a trade down. I really am. Kenneth, we're on the clock right now. You came in at a perfect time. They are on the clock literally right now. And Hampton and Henderson are both on the board. Still don't know who Tampa took. I don't have that yet. I will let you know as soon as I have it. Whoa, Tampa goes with Emeka Egbuka. Oh, damn. Oh, damn. So Mike Evans is back. Chris Godwin is back. And they bring in Emeka Egbuka. Whoa, dude. That is like the best wide receiver 3 in the NFL. That is insane. All right. We are here, guys. We are on the clock. Good pick for Tampa, but that's not what we care about right now. Broncos have been listening to calls. This could be the time that we see a trade. If somebody wants to jump the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is where it would have to happen. Ooh, boy. Will it be Will Johnson? Will it be Omarion Hampton? Will it be Travion Henderson? Will it be Matthew Golden? Will they trade down? I don't know, but we're about to find out, guys. We are about to find out. I do like Emeka Egbuka to Tampa. I think that's a really intriguing fit. Getting to play with both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Dude. We're waiting as soon as we have the pick, guys. This is a reminder now to take some deep breaths. They can get their running back later if they want to. Woo, boy. Come on, Giants. Come on, Brownies. George Payton, you better work some magic, my dude. Manny says, hopefully they trade. I hope so, too. I want them to come down. That'll happen, Brad. That will definitely happen, probably after I upload the video. I have a tradition that I always take one after every single upload. Every single one. Alright, guys. I will let you know as soon as I have it. Ooh, my heart is beating. My heart is beating. My heart is beating. The Broncos are sticking at pick 20. No trade. Will it be Hampton or Henderson? Broncos are staying at 20. All right, guys, here we go. The Broncos are staying at 20. So it's going to be Hampton or it's going to be Henderson. All right, the pick is in. We don't have it yet. As soon as we do. Deep breaths, Broncos country. Deep breaths. The pick is in, guys. They are taking Shedeur Sanders. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Breathe. It's official. They're not trading. They're not trading. They're not trading. Still don't have it yet, guys. I will let you know as soon as I do. But if I had to guess right now, it's going to be Henderson or Hampton. God. Come on. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Giants have been trying to get back into round one, so that could be a conversation being had right now. The Giants want back into round one, and this would be the time for it to happen. But apparently Denver's staying pat. They're not trading. Ooh, boy. I wish we could hurry up and get this over with. Come on. Come on. Still don't have it. If they're staying put, that means that they really like a guy. I think it's going to be Henderson. Again, guys, once the pick is in, I will give you a heads up, and we will then be going into video making mode. Above average, we're going to announce the pick as soon as it happens on Twitter, so I would recommend, if you don't want to hear it, dip out of here. Come back once the pick's already been announced on TV, I would say. Oh, this is the longest 10 minutes of my life, bro. I'd be happy with both running backs. Expect Hampton, want Henderson, Robert said. Oh, God, I keep getting notifications from Draft Diamonds, and it's just him retweeting other crap. All right, guys, this is your opportunity to dip out now if you need to, because once the pick's in, I'm announcing it. I hate waiting too, Brad. I hate it. It'd be good for my cardiac health if they just hurry up and pick. Mike Garofalo says they're not going to trade. They're picking. So that's multiple insiders now saying that they're picking. Do we have it? They are letting time tick off the clock here. Come on, Sean, you're killing me. It says the pick is in. I keep refreshing Twitter. Mike Kliss tweet. Wow. The pick is in, guys. I'm going to give you about 10-15 seconds if you guys want to dip out, because the pick is in. I have it right here, according to Mike Kliss. So couple more seconds. I'm going to say it. All right, I'm going to say it right now, guys. With the 20th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Jiad Baron, cornerback, Texas. The Denver Broncos just took a corner in the first round. I'm speechless. This is not what I was expecting. I'm not joking. I'll bring it in. I will show you. I'm not joking. I will bring the tweet in myself. I'm bringing it in right. Here it is. This is it. There's the tweet. The Broncos are taking Jiad Baron. Listen, I think Jiad Baron is an excellent corner. I think that he can play bump and run coverage. He can play press man coverage, which is exactly what the Denver Broncos play, but what are you doing, dude? This means the Denver Broncos weren't confident in Riley Moss. I don't think fans are going to like this pick. I'm going to give this pick a C as of right now, because I do think Barron's a good player, but yikes. All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into video making mode. I'm going to go ahead and pull up Barron's PFF profile real quick. Let me go ahead and get that pulled up. And we will go ahead and get this going, guys. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not underwhelmed. I'm just kind of whelmed. Yeah, I'm just kind of whelmed, you know? All right, guys. We are going to get into video making mode. Let me make sure I have Kliss's tweet. Let me make sure that everything's all rocking. And all right, guys, we're going to go into video making mode. So if I'm ignoring the chat for a few minutes, I apologize. We will be answering all of your questions about Baron as soon as we come out of this video. So let's go ahead and get started on the video, guys. In a couple deep breaths in. In 3, 2, 1, action. Dun 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 dun. I forgot to bring in the music, so there it is. The pick is in for the Denver Broncos, guys. The Denver Broncos, in the first round of the NFL Draft, with the 20th overall pick in 2025, they select Jiad Baron, cornerback out of Texas. The Denver Broncos go with a corner in the first round, guys. I'm surprised. I did not see this coming. I thought Denver was going to go after defensive line if they went with defense at all in the first round, and instead they go corner. I like Jiad Baron a lot. I think he profiles very well as a man coverage corner in the NFL, which is what the Denver Broncos want to do. They want to play bump and run press man coverage with Vance Joseph and company. So I do think he's going to play really well alongside Pat Surtain, but I know this is collectively going to leave Broncos country very disappointed. You had Omarion Hampton and Travion Henderson both on the board. You had Derek Harmon still on the board, and you end up going with Jiad Baron. Let's go ahead and talk about Baron as a player because, again, I think he is a really solid player. I think that he can profile really well in this Denver Broncos defense. Had a 91.1 Pro Football Focus coverage grade last year, so that's really excellent. He was targeted 67 times last year, allowed 37 receptions for 284 yards. He had 9 pass breakups and 5 interceptions at Texas last year. Again, I think he's really, really solid in man coverage. Let's go ahead and take a look at his coverage grades here. Okay, so it doesn't split it up by man or zone here, but I really like how he profiles as a man coverage corner. So, again, guys, I think he's a good scheme fit. Maybe he'll play slot. Maybe they'll shift Riley Moss to slot, and that'll get Jaquan McMillan out of a spot. But right now, I'm giving this a solid C pick for the Denver Broncos. Jiad Baron's a good player. I'm just a little bit perplexed by this pick. All right, guys, be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe to the channel. And until next time, Broncos Country, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, ending the video and saying peace out. Alright guys, the video is done. Thank you so much, Mad Space, for the $2. Does that mean Moss is fitting to be traded? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think he will still be maybe the new nickel corner for the Broncos. But I am perplexed by this. I am perplexed. Is the next pick in yet? Let's see if the next pick in. I'm assuming if Shedor's fallen to Pittsburgh, that's the direction it's going to go. Whoa, they pass on Shedeur. They go with Derek Harmon at the very next pick. Wow. Oh, Jesus. Oh, wow. I cannot believe this, man. Derek Harmon goes to the very next pick, and the Steelers also pass on Shedeur Sanders. Holy crap. All right, guys, let me get this video up real quick. And then we will go ahead and get to some questions in the chat. Again, apologies for ignoring the chat, but got to get these videos up, man. Wow, wow, wow. Make sure I spell his name right. J. This to be Henderson so much. Actually, I can use that. Again, guys, we're just trying to get this video up here. This is the life of being a YouTuber when you're a one-man show. You do everything. Is the next pick in? So it was Derek Harmon to Pittsburgh. Have we gotten the 22nd pick in yet? Okay, just 30 more seconds here. Jahdae. Thumbnail picture. Grab that. Delete Travion Henderson. Hopefully we can maybe still use that thumbnail later, if you know what I mean. Man, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. That is not the direction I think anybody anticipated the Denver Broncos going. And again, it's not that I don't think that Jiad Baron's a good player. I think he's a really good player. It's just, if you were going to go defense, I was just anticipating they were going to go defensive line. This is just a massive, massive shock. And somebody's going to be out of a job. If it's Riley Moss or Jaquan McMillan, I don't know. But somebody is going to be out of a job. All right, guys. The video is officially live. Let's go. All right. Let's get back to the chat here, guys. Again, thank you for bearing with me on that. He might have been their best graded player available. He very well could have. He very well could have. I'm just kind of shocked that it went in this direction. I really am. But the Broncos now have 2 lockdown corners, which is really, really strong. Yeah, man, it's not the direction I had anticipated them going. Maverick says, I originally had him going to the Rams. Okay, that's what I want. Thank you so much again, Mad Space. Like I said earlier, for those $2, man, really appreciate it. Yeah, we dropped again just because I was trying to upload that video. That definitely took some of my bandwidth. When the Chargers pick Henderson, I may get sick. We'll see what they do, man. We will see what they do. And I don't know if we're going to hear from Jiad Baron tonight or if we're going to hear from him tomorrow. They didn't do the introductory press conference with Bo Nix last year until he was actually in Denver. So I don't know if they're going to do that tonight or if they're going to do that tomorrow. It'll work out if we can get a top running back now. And I still think they can, because both of them have fallen. Shedeur Sanders, man, falling out of the top 20 and not being taken by Pittsburgh at 21. We'll see if somebody wants to come up and get him. At this point, it wouldn't surprise me if Shedeur fell out of the first round altogether. All right, that video is already getting eaten up. Fantastic. So according to Benjamin Albright, they see Baron as more of a slot corner, so this puts Jaquan McMillan on notice. He came back on a tender this year, but it looks like now they're going to go with Riley Moss, Pat Surtain, and Jiad Baron in their secondary. All right, we'll see what happens, man. If one of these running backs falls to the top of the second round, I would not be surprised at all if Denver made a move. Yep, sounds like Riley Moss is safe, and this is more of a Jaquan McMillan replacement. I don't know, man. Again, I think I'm sticking with that C pick. It's not a bad pick, but it's not a great pick either. So Riley Moss and Pat Surtain on the outside and Jiad Baron at nickel. I don't know if I would have drafted a guy in the first round to exclusively play nickel, though. So I'm kind of thinking he will see some packages outside on the boundary. Okay, so Baron is doing a conference call with the media right now. So that's good. We're not missing an actual press conference with him. So that is fantastic. Apparently, Denver only had a Zoom with him in the pre-draft process. They didn't bring him in for an interview or anything like that. Let's take a listen to what my guy Cecil Lammy has to say about this pick. I'm very interested to hear Cease's thoughts. So let's go ahead and bring Cease in real quick here. Make sure that volume's up.
The pick is in for the Denver Broncos today, Baron. All right, cornerback from Texas. 1, Didn't think he would be there for the Denver Broncos. They get
that's a bit of a shock for me too.
A quick corner that can get the ball. He's a ball hawk for sure, and he's also a very sound and aggressive tackler. What does this mean for Riley Moss? Does Baron immediately push Riley Moss for that starting job opposite of Pat Surtain? What does it mean for Vance Joseph? VJ, now you've got everything to your defense. This defense is not top 5. Could they be the #1 defense in the league with Baron now in the Denver Broncos building? We'll see, and then we'll see if they can get a running back in day 2.
They might, man. I think they can probably get their back in day 2. Even if it's not Hampton or Henderson, Caleb Johnson's still there, and I would definitely be a fan of Caleb Johnson in the second round. All right, bring that back in. Why did we not trade up for Warren? Couple reasons. First one, it takes 2 to tango, and I don't think there was a trade partner. Second of all, it would have just been too much draft capital to give up. You would have been giving up pretty much your entire draft this year. And Omarion Hampton comes off the board to the Los Angeles Chargers. Can't say I'm surprised by that. They now have 2 running backs who profile kind of similarly in Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton. They want to run the ball, man. Jim Harbaugh loves to run the ball. Greg Roman, their offensive coordinator, is probably one of the best run game designers in the NFL, so Hampton's going to get a lot of good looks. I know that a lot of people in Broncos country are going to be super unhappy about this, but Hampton, a really good fit in my opinion there in LA for him. And I still think Denver got better value getting a corner in round 1 than they would have getting a running back in round 1. Now, the team that I'm kind of worried about for Travion Henderson is the Washington Commanders at 29. Reports have indicated that the Commanders really, really like Henderson. So if there's a team to keep an eye on for them right now, I would say, or for him right now, I would say that it is the Washington Commanders. RJ Harvey is another option. He might be kind of a late day 2, early day 3, but that is also an option for sure. I will say, in the comments section, this pick is getting a little bit better received than I would have thought. I would have thought that fans would be losing their mind at this pick, but I think that fans are understanding the logic behind this move, and I think overall that people are a lot more accepting of it than they were at the beginning of this process. And sure, there's still going to be people out there that are pissed off that they didn't go offense, but if they can still get a really good running back, then ultimately I think they're going to be okay. Again, I'm not overwhelmingly happy by it, but I'm also not unhappy either. I'm fine with it. I think this is a solid C move for the Denver Broncos. My opinion has not changed on that, but still, man, Derek Harmon and Omarion Hampton coming off the board in the 2 ensuing picks is rough. I would have definitely loved to get my hands on Harmon, and now you're going to have to see what happens with Henderson. Yep, I'm with you, Ethan. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. Defense does win championships, and that's the thing. I'm always okay with bolstering the defense. Philadelphia bolstered their defense last season, and that's what won them a championship. Maverick says, I don't get the logic behind the pick. I mean, if you feel like Jaquan McMillan's not a competent starter for you at nickel and you just want to be able to upgrade your secondary, I understand the logic behind it. And again, I'm more okay with this than I would have been them taking a running back in the first round. Running back in first round almost never works, man. It is rare that it works out. So for me, I'm okay with this. I do think that Henderson will probably be gone to Washington, but there's still going to be some really good backs in round 2. Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson. I really like both of those guys in round 2. So all is not lost, Broncos country. If you guys were in the running back or bust camp, I still think Denver can come away with a really good running back. And just like Holy Diver points out, McMillan is a free agent after this season, and Moss is a free agent after the 2026 season. So this is a future need that you're addressing before it becomes a need, and that's kind of the Howie Roseman approach. If he's got a need that's coming up in the draft, he usually addresses it a year or two before it becomes a need. See how they drafted Jason Kelsey's replacement twice, basically, in Cam Jurgens, and then landed, well, Dickerson first, and then Cam Jurgens. Dickerson became a good guard for them, and then eventually Cam Jurgens took over at center. It's kind of a similar thing there. What's y'all's opinion on Cam Scatabo? So I don't think that Scatabo's game, the way that he currently plays it, is going to translate to the NFL level. I think that the lack of speed could be a problem. He's a grinder. He works hard. That's very apparent. He loves football, so that'll always get a guy higher up in my book, but I don't know, man. I think Cam Scatabo is a day 3 talent, and that's probably where he's going to end up going, is day 3. So apparently Will Johnson has had a knee issue that has concerned some NFL teams, and that helps explain why he still hasn't been selected. I'm almost wondering if Johnson hadn't been injured, maybe the Broncos would have gone after him instead of Baron. So, according to my guy Andy NFL, who I've been following recently, I think he's a fantastic draft analyst on Twitter. He says that Baron was the best nickel that was available on the board. So, Denver got a really good player. That is a fact. Denver got a really good player. What is the Broncos trade up buzz if Henderson falls late in the first round? They might not have the capital to get all the way up to the top of the second round or bottom of the first round. I don't know if they have enough capital to get up there, but we'll see. We will see. Right now, I'm kind of penciling in Henderson at 29 to Washington. Oh, man, I wish we had traded down. I really do. I wish we had traded down. But, again, like I said earlier, I trust Sean Payton and I trust George Payton. And now, by extension, with this being a defensive pick, I trust Vance Joseph as well. Yeah, I would say Mathis is definitely behind Chris Abrams' drain. Mathis is on the roster bubble as of right now. And that's the thing, Holy Diver. It takes 2 to tango, and if you don't have a dance partner, you're not going to pull off a trade. Mike says maybe we're going after Judkins. I'm thinking either Judkins or Caleb Johnson in the second round. That's who I have my eyes on. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me even after the Denver Broncos have made their pick. I really appreciate each and every single one of you guys. We are currently waiting now for, who is on the clock, the Green Bay Packers to make their pick at 23. Yeah, I'm not the hugest fan of Judkins either, personally. I'm a much bigger fan of Caleb Johnson in the second round, but I could see Judkins as a possibility. So, Robert, I think that Baron is going to play in the slot predominantly, so Moss and Surtain will still be your 2 boundary corners, and Baron will end up being your nickel guy over Jaquan McMillan. Do you think the Broncos pick hurts George Payton's job security this year? No, it doesn't, because if George was endorsive of this pick, then Sean was too. They move as one unit collectively. They're not 2 separate entities. So this was a Sean Payton draft pick just as much as it was a George Payton draft pick. Packers go with Matthew Golden. So the Green Bay Packers finally break the trend of not taking a wide receiver in the first round. For the first time in God knows how long, they take a first-round receiver in Matthew Golden out of Texas, and he gives them a speed merchant. That is for sure. Matthew Golden has excellent speed. He can be a burner deep downfield for them. I'm surprised Green Bay made this pick. I'm also kind of surprised that Matthew Golden fell this far, but with Ted McMillan going to the Carolina Panthers at 8, Golden was probably going to be the best guy that you had left on the board at wide receiver. I cannot believe that Green Bay actually did it. Grossi's happy. I bet he is. I'll have to look and see how my guy Marcus Whitman is, that franchise guy. He's also a Packers fan, and when Green Bay has screwed up in the draft, his rants have been legendary. I will never forget his Quay Walker rant. That was epic. And another one in free agency this season when they signed Aaron Banks. So I'll have to see how my guy Marcus Whitman's feeling about this pick. But if Grossi's happy, then I'd imagine most of Packer Nation is happy. So Ian Rappaport says the Broncos made calls to move up. They made calls to move out in front of the Steelers, or made calls for other teams to move out in front of the Steelers, but they end up going with Jiad Baron. If there's one thing that I know, Bobby says, it's that George Paton knows how to draft corners in the first round. That is very true. And the last time that they took a corner in the first round and there was controversy behind it, that ended up working out pretty damn well for Denver. So those of us that are maybe a little bit disappointed with the pick right now could be looking back a year from now and being absolutely feeling absolutely foolish. So yeah, man. If this pick ends up working out, then nobody's going to care about who the Denver Broncos passed on. And Tommy, there's still some good running backs on the board. Henderson's still on the board. Johnson's still on the board. Judkins is still on the board. There are still RB1s on the board. Yep, I'm shocked too, Quentin. I did not expect them to go in this direction. All right, so Green Bay goes Matthew Golden. Minnesota is now on the clock. If I had to guess, I'm going to say this is Nick Emmanwori coming off here. I'll be right back, guys. My cat is yelling at the door. I'm going to go let her in. Come here. Say hi to the camera, Frosty. Meow. All right, so yeah, I'd have to say right now for Minnesota, this is probably going to be a safety. Malachi Starks or Nick Emmanwori immediately come to mind. Then after Minnesota, we've got Houston at 25, LA at 26, Baltimore at 27, and Detroit at 28. Mike, the second round is tomorrow, so that'll get started at 5 p.m. What, kitty? You've been fed. I know for a fact that Mom fed you. Getting Baron makes sure that we don't fall off if PS2 gets hurt. See, the thing is, though... No, you do not need to be up on the cardboard. You are going to knock that down. Sorry. The thing with that is that I don't think that Baron's going to play on the boundary. I think that Baron's going to play inside at nickel. So I don't know if Baron would be your backup to PS2 in that situation. I actually think that your backup to PS2 would probably still be Chris Abrams-Drain. Again, I think this was more of a move at slot to replace Jaquan McMillan than it was a move to bolster their boundary corner position, which not the hugest fan of doing in the first round, but if they feel like that's their missing piece on defense, then by all means. I agree. I love Chris Abrams-Drain. He was one of my guys coming out of the draft last year. That was one of those picks that the Denver Broncos made, and I screamed out for joy because I was such a big fan. Whoa! So, Minnesota goes offensive line. They go with Donovan Jackson. Okay. I did not expect Donovan Jackson to go in the first round, but Minnesota, they continue to add more and more pieces in the trenches. They signed a couple of guards in Will Fries and, they signed Will Fries and then they signed a center in Ryan Kelly. So, yeah, man, that's an interesting pick. I was anticipating them to go DB, but they go with a guy who had a high second round grade on in Donovan Jackson. So that one's a little bit of a surprise. I'm probably going to end up giving that pick a B- just off of initial glance. I agree. Really good pick for Green Bay. I cannot believe that they finally took a wide receiver in the first round after all these years. Aaron Rodgers is probably rolling around in his proverbial grave right now. I will say this, though, with pretty definitive certainty. I do believe the Denver Broncos' next 2 picks will be on the offensive side of the ball. I believe it will be running back and tight end, the next 2 picks for the Denver Broncos. Yep, like Kubiak used to say, we're fixing to find out. And again, man, the biggest thing about this is that I trust Sean Payton and I trust George Payton. So even if I don't necessarily agree with this, I still think that there's logic and reasoning behind the pick, and they wouldn't have made this pick for no reason. And this pick really is getting a lot better received by the fans than I thought it would. I thought people were going to hate this pick, but hey, man, I guess the fans are a little bit better off with corner than I had initially anticipated. All right, so the Houston Texans are now on the clock at 25, followed by the Rams, Baltimore, and Detroit. So we are winding down the first round here. It has been an exciting and fruitful first round of the draft. We will not be hearing from Jiad Baron in a press conference tonight. He just did like a little Zoom meeting with the press. We'll probably hear from him tomorrow or the next day once he flies into Denver. But we will definitely be hearing from Sean and George Payton tonight once the draft is over. So we will be streaming that on the channel like we do for all of the press conferences. Hopefully you guys can stay tuned and catch that. Oh boy, there it is. The Giants are trading up with the Houston Texans. 34, 99, and a future third are going to Houston for pick 25. I think the Shedeur Sanders slide has stopped now, folks. I was hoping the Denver Broncos could take advantage of this. Ultimately, they don't. It ends up being Houston, and the Giants are the team that comes up. Holy crap. So this is the Shedeur Sanders destination. You got Russell Wilson, you got Jameis Winston, you got Tommy Cutlets, and now you've got Shedeur Sanders in the mix. That is one hell of a quarterback room, dude. Holy crap. So Shedeur Sanders goes to the Giants. Hasn't been officially announced yet, but come on, if the Giants are trading up, we all know who it's for. Has the Nuggets game tipped off yet, guys? I have no clue what time they even play tonight. Oh, yep, it's tipped off. I just saw a highlight on YouTube. Who's winning? Oh, God. Denver's getting smoked 42-28. Ugh, gross. That sucks. Hard Knocks New York Giants 2025. Yep, I'm thinking so. And the Giants official Twitter account just posted the "aw shit, here we go again" meme. I think this is Shedeur, Devin, but it wouldn't shock me if this was Dart. Let's just say that. It would not shock me. That's not the move I would go with, but it wouldn't shock me. Yeah, that sucks about the Nuggets, man. That sucks. I don't give two craps about hockey, but I saw that the Avs also had a choking of epic proportions. So $34.99 and a 2026 third to come up from 34 to 25. Some fans are mad about our pick. Yep, I expected that. Honestly, there are less of them that are mad than I thought were going to be. I thought a lot more fans were going to be pissed off about this, but I mean, again, I don't think it's a... Whoa! Jackson Dart is going to the Giants over Shedeur Sanders. Yo! Not shocked completely, but that is not the move I would have made. That is not the move I would have made whatsoever. At this point, I would say that Shedeur Sanders is going to fall out of the first round. He might be available for the taking at 33 for Cleveland. Yo! Again, I'm not thoroughly surprised by this, but that is definitely not what I would have done. That is definitely not what I would have done. But yeah, as far as our pick is concerned, I thought that a lot more people were going to be mad about it, but hey man, Sean and George believe in him, and Vance Joseph believes in him as their guy, so I trust him. That's crazy, Maverick. That really is. And Kim, you're probably still going to be able to get a really good tight end on day 2 if that's the direction you want to go. Mason Taylor is probably going to be available. Wow. So Jackson Dart over Shedeur Sanders. I don't think Sanders goes in round 1 at this point. There's really nobody else that needs a quarterback. See, I like Elijah Arroyo, but more of a big slot in my opinion than a true inline tight end. He's basically another Evan Ingram. And maybe if they want to get Arroyo later on as a backup to Ingram, I could see that, but you still need an inline tight end. You need a guy who can line up, put his hand in the dirt, a guy who can block. So, yeah, you still need an inline guy even if you go after more of a receiving tight end in Elijah Arroyo. Yep, the rumors were true. And quite frankly, I don't think the league was ever as high on Shedeur Sanders as media and fans were. It's kind of what I heard at the Shrine Bowl, and at first I didn't want to believe it. I thought it was just bull honky, but as more and more time passed, the reports never really changed. It was all the same information. So I just think all along the league was never quite as high on Shedeur Sanders as we were, especially us being here in Colorado and getting to see him play a lot more up close and being able to see him on a week-to-week basis. If you'll excuse me, the cat's screaming at the door. I hear you, cat. What? Hey, Mom? Can you see if the fat one needs food, please? And can you also throw the pizza in the fridge? Please? Thank you. Sorry about that. All right, so Jackson Dart comes off the board, and that's a little bit smaller of a trade package. The Falcons are coming back into the first round. What? Who could Atlanta want? I'm assuming they're coming up with the Rams here at 26. Who does Atlanta want? Oh, this is interesting. Falcons coming back up to 26 with the Rams. Okay. So the spiciness is not over, Broncos country. We've got some more action. We'll have to see what the compensation is. Who could Atlanta be coming up for? Dude, if Atlanta takes Sanders, I'm going to laugh my fucking ass off. Oh, come on. Come back to me, Papa. There we go. Yep, dollar in the swear jar. That is true. That's our first one of the day, actually. I'm kind of surprised. I was anticipating more. Dude, who in the hell is Atlanta going to take? I'm trying to think, like, what positions do Atlanta really need? Maybe secondary? This could be a safety, maybe? Is this for Malachi Starks or maybe Nick and Wari? That's the only thing I can really think of for Atlanta. Yeah, this is definitely perplexing. I cannot think of who Atlanta might want here. So Atlanta's sending 46, 242, and a 2026 first rounder. Oh man, for 26 and 101. That could be a high pick possibly for the Rams. I think Atlanta's got very high bust potential this year. Oh, dude. What are you doing, Falcons? What are you actually doing? What? You just sent a 2026 first rounder when you just saw the freaking New York Giants only have to give up a second and a third? What? Granted, it's for some more spots, like 10 more spots, but what? What? They might, man. Depending on who they pick here, man, Falcons fans might start to riot. What the hell? They're about to Falcon this up, aren't they? They are about to Falcon this up hardcore. I cannot believe that the freaking Rams just fleeced an extra first rounder out of Atlanta like that. I don't think there are really any players who are on the board at this point that are worthy of giving up a future first for. They are going to Falcon this up big time. What? We still don't know who it's for either. God, and people actually view the Falcons as a competent NFL organization. God, that's a fleece. That is an absolute fleece. Sorry, my group chat's going nuts right now for the Syndicate. Is this maybe Will Johnson? I don't know if I would have given up a future first to come up for Will Johnson, especially if there are injury concerns. That would be a... Whoa, they double up on edge rusher. They go with James Pierce. The edge rusher out of Tennessee. I mean, I don't know if I would have given up that much draft capital for James Pierce. Wow. Wow. I think Detroit was possibly a James Pierce destination at 28, so maybe they felt like they needed to come up and jump Detroit, but what are you doing, Falcons? What are you actually doing? They just Falconed this up hardcore, dude. I don't think James Pierce is a bad player. He's absolutely worthy of being drafted here, but you just gave up a future first to move into the back end of the first round. I can almost guarantee you that that pick is going to end up being a high pick for the Rams. There's no way that that would have been a good value on the trade value chart, dude. The Rams just fleeced the Falcons, like seriously fleeced them. What are you doing, Falcons? Seriously. Okay, so now we got Baltimore on the clock at 27, followed by Detroit at 28. We are winding down here in the first round. We've got about another hour's worth of picks, and then we will be going live for Sean and George's press conference. Dude. Les Snead, he just completely fleeced Atlanta, bro. Les Snead, that is an absolute pelt on your wall, buddy. What a fleecing. Holy crap. Again, my only thought behind this is that they maybe wanted to jump Detroit, and Atlanta got reamed for not taking an edge rusher last year. And now they decide to double up and get 2 edge rushers. That's crazy. That is crazy stuff. If Cleveland can get Sanders, it might happen, and they might not even have to trade up for him. He might just fall to 33. I cannot believe that the Giants took Jackson Dart over Shedeur Sanders. Joe Shane's son was right. He put out a picture on his Instagram saying that they were going to take Jackson Dart, and sure enough, they did. And remember, Joe Shane's son famously on Hard Knocks wanted his dad to trade up for Jaden Daniels. That was never going to happen, but Joe Shane's son does know ball. That is very apparent. Wow, wow, wow. 5 o'clock tomorrow, Maverick. So we'll be going live about 4:45-ish. Yep, I follow a couple of Lions fans who are subscribers for my business partner over at Broncos Syndicate, and yeah, they're not happy about this. They wanted James Pierce. So, for the Lions, I would say Donovan Ezeraku. I have no idea what direction Baltimore is going to go. I had mocked Tyler Booker here, but he was long gone. He was drafted at 12 to Dallas. And now the question becomes, who's going to be the next quarterback after Sanders to come off the board? Is it going to be Tyler Shook? Is it going to be Jalen Milroe? I personally think it should be Shook, but that's just me. It's kind of a pick-your-flavor situation there. I still cannot believe the Falcons did that, bro. That is such a bad freaking trade. And this, folks, is why the Atlanta Falcons will never win shit. I cannot believe that the Falcons agreed to that. What are you doing? There's got to be torches and pitchforks coming out to the Falcons facility in Flowery Branch, Georgia after this. Again, I still have no clue what Baltimore is going to do here because kind of every player that I felt made the most sense for them is off the board. But knowing that it's Baltimore, they're probably going to end up with a really good player here. No, Maverick, if this were like the Premier League in soccer, the Falcons would have been demoted a long time ago. Hell, they're not even the best football team in the state of Georgia. Devin says the Chiefs are getting Henderson. Not if Washington has anything to say about it. I think Washington's going to get him first, which I would obviously be a lot more okay with. Washington reportedly was smitten with him at 29. That's why in my mock draft, I had Denver trading back up to 28 with Detroit after they had traded down with Cleveland. So right now, I'm going to pencil in Henderson for Washington. Ravens go Malachi Starks. Damn, that is a hell of a secondary. You've got Malachi Starks and Kyle Hamilton. Yo. I said the Ravens were going to come away with a good player, and they sure as hell did, man. People were anticipating maybe Buffalo would be in on Malachi Starks at 30, so they also just stole him from Buffalo. That's an excellent pick from Baltimore. No surprise, Ravens get an A+ for their draft pick, just like they do every single year. God, man. Eric DaCosta masterclass. Him and Howie Roseman, two best GMs in the league. That is nuts. God, man. Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks. Oh, my God. That is such a Baltimore Ravens draft pick. All right, the Detroit Lions are on the clock. Depending on what happens here, my business partner is either going to be really happy or he is going to lose his mind. He really wants the Lions to come away with an edge rusher, so right now I'm going to say they take Donovan Ezaraku. He's probably the best edge rusher that's left on the board. Let's see, are the Nuggets still choking? Yes, they are. 58-40. That sucks. And from what Twitter is saying, Russell Westbrook is having yet another terrible game. All right. I cannot believe the Ravens were able to come away with Malachi Starks. That is such a good pick for them. And if my business partner is going to keep his sanity, then the Lions are going to take an edge rusher here. I have not, Devin. I have only been to an NFL game as far as professional sports. I go to all the Broncos home games, but never been inside Ball Arena, and I've never been inside Coors Field, so that's something I definitely want to do. It's kind of crazy because I've lived here for so long and I've still never gone. They could, Tommy, but again, I don't think he's going to be there when Kansas City picks at 30 or 31. I think he'll be gone at 29. Yes, Devin, that is correct. I did grow up in New Mexico. Moved to Denver in 2018, right when I turned 18. So I've been here for several years now, but still have never gone to a Nuggets game. Oh, you're from Albuquerque? Right on. I was born in Las Cruces and raised in Silver City. All right, come on, Detroit. Please take an edge rusher for the sanity of my business partner. Devin, no, I did not go to Silver High. I went to Aldo Leopold Charter School, a little small charter school there in Silver City. Oh, Bobby grew up in Cruces? Right on. Yep, definitely quite a few members of Broncos country down there in the 505 and 575. Yep, down south, Maverick. Southwestern New Mexico. But first time I visited Denver when I was 15, I knew I wanted to live here. Just so happened that my favorite football team played here. I had family who lived here at the time, and it all worked out perfectly. Yeah, it's not my favorite part of the world down there, to be honest with you. Denver's home. Growing up down there, it's just all desert and dryness and heat. The mock draft I'm doing has Henderson available at 51. Bears take Judkins at 41. I do think Henderson will go before Judkins, and I'm probably pretty certain that Henderson will go at some point before the night is done. Hopefully not, but that is what I ultimately see happening. If he is available at the top of the second round, Denver probably will be heavily interested in trading up. I just don't think he'll be there. Yep, you can always hope. That is for sure. God, dude, Detroit is taking their sweet time with this. My business partner's probably feeling how I was feeling a few minutes ago, waiting for that Baron pick. Dude, John Gruden is blasting the Falcons for making that trade. I cannot believe that they actually thought that was good, fair value. What is wrong with some of these executives, man? Seriously. All right, reconnected. Are we back in? Let me know if we're back in, guys. Had to do a reset. Let me know if we are back in. Let me know, let me know, let me know. All right, back in. Sweet. Oh, God. I was sitting on my foot, and now my foot fell asleep. Damn it. All right. So we are still waiting on Detroit. And the pick is in. Okay, they go with the pass rusher. Well, more a run stuffer than a pass rusher, but they do go with a trench player. Tyleik Williams, interior defensive lineman out of Ohio State. I mean, the Lions could use another body on the drop over having to have just bad buffering internet. The occasional drop is okay, in my opinion, over that. But Tyleik Williams off the board to the Detroit Lions. Big, gap-clogging, run-stuffing interior defensive lineman. And they could use him as a pass rusher, but he is more of a run stuffer. And I don't know if that's going to make my business partner very happy. They need another edge rusher to pair alongside Aiden Hutchinson. They released Zadarius Smith, so I have no clue what their plan is there. Oh, man, this one's probably going to be like a B- pick here for Detroit. I just refurbished my kitchen table as a Broncos table with a wood burner and orange and blue stain. Just got it in time for the draft. That's sick. That is sick. Speaking of, this is probably a good time to plug the sign here. Use code BS30, link in the description below to save $30 off your first purchase from Whitebeard Signworks. Get an authentic NFL LED team logo sign like this one. This one plugs in and lights up. It's really cool when it's lit up. He can do any team logo for you. Really nice, solid wood material, nothing flimsy, nothing cheap. Really good, honest, authentic guy, and good materials that he works with making these signs. So use code BS30, link in the description below to save off your first purchase from Whitebeard Signworks. All right, so Tyleik Williams off the clock at 28, and now at 29 with the Washington Commanders. I do anticipate this is probably going to be where Travion Henderson comes off the board. Reports have indicated that the Commanders are smitten over Henderson, and they feel like he could be the long-term Austin Eckler replacement. So I do bet that that's the direction that Washington's going to go as of right now. So Henderson is probably going to be off the board here in just a few minutes. Still got 23 people in here despite the Broncos being done for the night. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys. None of this would be possible without each and every single member of Broncos country like you guys helping me out grow this channel. I really do appreciate it. So what I keep hearing from Broncos media, Zach Stevens just reported that Jiad Baron will indeed play nickel for the Broncos and Riley Moss will stay on the outside. Maybe at some point it'll change, it'll go the opposite way, but it seems that the Broncos view Baron as more of a nickel than an outside corner at this point in time. Yes, Robert, there were. I don't know if the Jets are still interested in that, but I do think Denver could make a call if they don't come away with a running back that they like in the draft. So yeah, if they do indeed want to make a trade, like I could see Breece Hall. I could also see them just signing like a J.K. Dobbins off the street or something like that. But I do believe they're going to come away with a running back in either rounds 2 or 3. Thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate that, my friend. Really, really do. Keep it up. Who do you think we get at 51 tomorrow? I wouldn't rule out a trade up. I really wouldn't. I still think that they want to get a running back, so Caleb Johnson, maybe Quinshon Judkins. I could also see Mason Taylor maybe tomorrow if they want to go tight end. All right, pick is in for Washington. And again, it's looking like Shedeur Sanders is going to fall out of the first round. Nobody else in the first round needs a quarterback, and Cleveland at 33 is probably going to be the first team that would be interested in him. So how about that, man? Shedeur Sanders went from being talked about as a top 10 pick to now possibly falling out of the first round altogether. Wow! Oh, this is good news, Broncos country, on a couple of different levels. The Commanders just took offensive tackle Josh Conerly at 29. So Henderson's still on the board, and Conerly was the player that I anticipated Kansas City getting. So that just took a really good player off the board for Kansas City. Josh Simmons is still on the board at tackle, and that's where I think Kansas City is ultimately going to go. And now we've got the Buffalo Bills on the clock at 30. I am shocked, man. I thought they were going to go Travion, and they didn't. Travion might very well fall out of the first round. So Josh Conerly, the tackle out of Oregon, to the Washington Commanders. Makes sense. They had a need at left tackle. Get some protection for your franchise quarterback in Jaden Daniels. But I did think it was going to be Henderson. I will take that L. I will definitely take that L. I was very much wrong about that one. But again, man, if Henderson falls to the top of the second round, I could very easily see Denver being interested. Just a reminder, guys, as soon as all the festivities are over here on this stream, we will be jumping over to Sean and George Paton's press conference. That will be on a separate stream, so we will be getting that set up, and once they are at the podium, we will be going live there once this stream is over. And we will be back live tomorrow at about 4:45 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for rounds 2 and 3, and then we'll be live all day long for rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday. So just got a few more picks here to round out the first round. So, very surprising pick for the Commanders. Let's see what direction Buffalo wants to go. This could be Nick Emmanwori. They do need a safety. I could definitely see that. When's Sean Payton's presser? Right after the draft? Yep, right after tonight. As soon as the first round is over, they will be getting on the podium, so we will get that in as soon as we have it. And then we'll probably either put out a video or go live very briefly or something like that, just to talk a little bit more about Jiad Baron. But I do want to save my voice a little bit for the next couple of days, because by the end of day 3, once I'm done with all the UDFA videos and stuff, more often than not, I lose my voice. It is a lot of talking that I have to do. JFM and Zach Allen will be paid. That's something that's definitely going to happen, I feel like, after the draft. The Broncos have told their players, we're not focusing on extensions right now, we're focusing on the draft, but once that's all done, I think we will start seeing some extensions flying down the pipeline for the Denver Broncos. Do you think we take a linebacker this weekend? I don't trust Singleton's health or our depth guys. Yes, I do. Somewhere in the mid-rounds, I think they are going to take a running back. One guy that I like is Jeffrey Bossa out of Oregon. I would definitely keep an eye on Bossa. That would be a stupid pick if Kansas City took Travion Henderson. They need offensive line help, desperately. They've done nothing to make their offensive line better after that was their biggest weakness in the Super Bowl. And they went ahead and traded away Joe Thuney on top of it. Devin, they might take him. They don't have a 5th round pick, but they do have 3-6, so that would be an area that I would keep an eye on for Bo Nix's brother, Tez Johnson. All right, so we've got Buffalo, Kansas City, and Philadelphia still left on the clock this evening. And they're going to milk it for as long as they can here, because TV networks still have about 35 minutes of airtime that they have to fill. So we're going to be sitting here for a while we wait for these picks to come down. And Brian Dable just reiterated that despite the fact that they took Jackson Dart in the 1st round, Russ will be the starter for the New York Giants. So we'll see how long that experiment lasts. And I will also say this. Good teams in the NFL do not draft for need. They draft best player available. The draft is for adding talent to your roster. It's not for filling needs. You look at the best teams in the NFL, like the Baltimore Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles, they don't draft for need. They draft the top talent that's available on their board, and that's what the Denver Broncos did tonight. They didn't need a corner, but they took a damn good football player. The last time the Denver Broncos operated under that draft philosophy, it worked out pretty well for them. They got Pat Surtain when they didn't even really need a corner. They got Quinn Miners when they didn't really even need a guard. So taking the best player available more often than not works out well for you. And drafting for need out of desperation more often than not doesn't work out well for you. So that's kind of my thought process as well behind the Denver Broncos taking Jiad Baron. God, seriously, Buffalo is taking forever. No, I don't think Matthew Golden was BPA. For me, BPA was Derek Harmon, but I can totally understand the thought process behind Jiad Baron. And then Zach Stevens just tweeted this out. The Jiad Baron pick screams to a quote from Sean Payton last week. Let's not bypass the crystal for a blender if we need a blender. But again, not a certain player. And now they jump up one spot. Let's see who this player is. So Eagles are trading 32 and 164 to the Chiefs for number 31. So that means Buffalo's made their pick, and the Eagles and Chiefs just traded with each other. Okay. I don't know why we have teams that are actively trading with the Kansas City Chiefs, but okay, Philly, I guess. We still don't know who Buffalo took yet. I will get that as soon as we have it. But apparently the Chiefs and the Eagles just swapped picks. Buffalo goes with Maxwell Hairston, the corner out of Kentucky. Okay. I was hearing some first-round buzz about Maxwell Hairston. Maybe the Los Angeles Rams, I was hearing, were interested in him, but he falls past them and Maxwell Hairston. Okay. That is definitely a really interesting pick. Buffalo needed help in the secondary, and they got it, but I was more thinking that they needed a safety as opposed to a corner. So, I don't know about this pick. I will give it maybe a B-, but definitely far from my favorite pick of the night. So now Philadelphia is on the clock, followed by Kansas City, and then we are done with the first round. Yeah, clearly the Eagles were worried about Kansas City taking a player that they really liked. Yep, they sure did, Robert. I think it might have been like 30 to 32 or something like that, but yep, they sure did. All right, we'll be hearing from Sean and George very soon. They've got the podium ready to go. Hopefully they wait until we're officially done. That way I can get the stream rigged up and actually stream it. That would be ideal. So please wait 30 minutes, people. I would really appreciate it. But the way this is working out right now, Travion Henderson might be available for the Denver Broncos in the second round if they wanted to trade up. Maxwell Hairston off the board to Buffalo. Let's see what Philly does here after trading up one spot with Kansas City. Yep, we'll have to do a film study on Baron, Robert. I'll see if I can get some Texas All-22 and see what I can put together here. Because when you're trying to use broadcast footage of college teams, some of them aren't quite as tough as others are about copyright. Some teams, you use a 5-second clip of one of their highlights and they're going to copyright claim it. Other teams don't care. Ooh, wow. Howie Roseman masterclass, folks. They got Jiad Campbell at 31. That is excellent value. The best off-ball linebacker in this class. Dude, that is such good value for them. Howie Roseman does it again. A-plus pick. Absolute A-plus home run pick. Dude, of course they did. Of course they did. It's the freaking Eagles. Wow. All right, so we got one more team on the clock, Kansas City. Let's see if they go with Henderson or if they go offensive line. I'm thinking the tackle Josh Simmons makes the most sense for Kansas City right now, but I could very well see them taking Henderson here. I think that would be a stupid mistake if they did, but that's just me. You need offensive line help, and if you don't get it, then I don't see how Kansas City is going to be competitive this year, even if they take a sexy skill position player like a running back. And this also confirms something else. Shedeur Sanders is going to fall out of the first round of the draft. He'll probably be taken at the top of the second round with the first pick in the second round, but Shedeur Sanders falls out of the first round. So now you've got Jiad Campbell and Nakobe Dean at linebacker. That is nasty. Eagles, Broncos, and Ravens got the best value picks according to Mark. I would say that the Eagles and Ravens definitely did. And the Broncos, yeah, I would say they did too. because Baron was anticipated to come off the board a lot earlier than he did. All right, so we have one last pick for the evening, guys. It is the Kansas City Chiefs. And then we will be coming off of this stream, and we will be going on to the Sean Payton and George Payton press conference stream. And then after that, I'll probably put out a video or maybe briefly go live just to talk about Jiad Baron a little bit more. And then we will be prepping for round 2 and 3 tomorrow. Benjamin Albright points out the last time the Broncos surprised teams by taking a corner over what others wanted, it turned out to be Pat Surtain. So that ended up working out really, really well for the Denver Broncos. All right, is the Chiefs pick in? It is not in, but they are on the clock. This could be Travion Henderson, but I'm expecting this to be offensive line. Well, by the looks of it, Tommy, some good running backs are going to be available on day 2. If Henderson falls, I would definitely anticipate Denver being interested in trading up to get him. No, Cruz, it means that they don't believe in Jaquan at nickel. This was a move at nickel, not at boundary corner. So Riley and Pat are still going to be your 2 outside corners, your 2 boundary corners, and then Jiad Baron's going to come inside and play in the slot at the nickel position. Ha! Pat McAfee ripped his freaking dab pen on the ESPN set in a commercial break, and he freaking just offered Mike McCarthy a hit. That is epic. That is freaking epic, dude. Oh, only one Pat McAfee, I swear to God. All right, we'll see how long Kansas City drags this out here, and then right afterwards, we will hear from Sean and George. If I had to guess right now, I would say that Josh Simmons, who is the best pure pass-protecting tackle in this class, is going to go to Kansas City. He does have some concerns about injuries as well as maturity issues, but he could be a really good fit if he were to develop on that Kansas City offensive line. Okay. What a night, folks. What a night. No matter how you slice it, the Denver Broncos came away with a good football player, and that is the goal of the draft, is to come away with good football players. Yeah, and I already know that the league's not happy about how quick the draft went because television networks are going to have like 25 minutes of airtime that they're going to have to fill until the 10 o'clock news starts. That's why we see teams drag these picks out, because they get told to by the NFL, because they've got to make the draft a 4-hour television production. All right, is the pick in for Kansas City? Not yet. God, Howie Roseman and freaking Eric DaCosta do it again, man. Every single year, the Ravens and the Eagles end up coming away with some of the best picks in the draft, and this year is no different. And we all know a really good one. We back, Broncos country? Somebody let me know real quick if we are back. I would appreciate it. I will say, overall, my internet held up well. It held up better than I expected it to. So I have confidence that it's going to hold up for the next couple of days. I can live with these occasional drops a lot more than I can live with bad buffering like we've had to deal with in previous years. All right, come on, Kansas City. Hurry up and turn this freaking card in. At this point, I think it's either going to be Travion Henderson or Josh Simmons for Kansas City. We are approaching the 4-hour mark of this stream, Broncos country. If any of you sickos stuck with me for the full 4 hours, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. I really, really, really appreciate it. Yep, we sure are, Mark. We will be live for all 3 days of the draft, analyzing each and every single pick. So tomorrow, the second round starts at about 5 p.m. Mountain Time, so we'll be going live at about 4:45-ish. I think this is going to be Josh Simmons here for Kansas City. Could be Henderson, though. Wouldn't surprise me if it were Henderson. But if Henderson falls, I would anticipate Denver being potentially interested in trading up in the second round to get him. Yep, the host of Eagles Syndicate absolutely loves the Jiad Campbell pick. My group chat is blowing up right now for the Syndicate hosts. If KC takes Henderson, I'm going to throw my phone through the window. All 3 rivals get a running back. Don't do that. Save your phone. Go scream into a pillow or something. God, this is taking forever. Good news! Good news, Broncos country. Travion Henderson's still on the board. The Kansas City Chiefs are taking Josh Simmons at 32. So they get their potential left tackle of the future. That's a pick that just needed to happen. They had to go offensive line. If they didn't, then they were going to be an absolute mess. So I never thought the Chiefs were going to be in on Henderson. I figured it was going to be offensive line all along, and I'm a little surprised that it ended up being Simmons. I'm surprised that he fell this far, but again, there are concerns about maturity, there are concerns about injuries, so we're obviously hoping you're here in Denver that all of those concerns ends up materializing, and that way Kansas City ends up with a bad player, but this is good news for the Broncos because it means that Travion Henderson is still on the board. All right, guys, here we go. I think Denver could be interested in moving up the draft board tomorrow, trying to trade up to the top of the second round, using that 51st pick to come up and get Henderson. Since the draft is up, guys, we are going to get ready for Sean and George's presser. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. We will be live tomorrow for rounds 2 and 3. We will be getting started at about 4:45 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. The second round starts at 5 o'clock. Before we get out of here, guys, if you could just do me a big favor and leave a like on this stream, as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed, I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push this out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country, just like you and me. And this is not the last you're hearing from me tonight, guys. I will make a video or maybe a quick live stream on Baron as well. All right, guys, we will see you at the presser.